נחשים ונקת נעימים צועדת על הים נוצרת צפנים פורצת ושקיעה עונה יום וליל המלכה היכלתי בדור חלפות לחיים אך נשלח עובר ונכרע וברכה לפני פורתנו אילנות מכאן נתמודד מפלצות הסלע נשים לנו בבית שרית בקודש נשים עמו איתך יהיה חסון ילי לחם היית לצלם מנהג המפאותייך לתן יודע שבכל לב מספרה כל נפלאותייך
Shalom. This week's Torah portion of Parshat Miqetz, beginning in Genesis chapter 41, continues to focus on Yosef HaTzadik, the righteous Joseph. In last week's Parshat Vayeshev, we talked about dreaming, about Yosef's own dreams, as well as those of Pharaoh's servants with whom he was in prison. As we've learned, everything about this Yosef is bound up with dreaming, from the dreams of his youth that wound him up in that first pit in the desert, to the dreams of others that caused him to be raised out of the pit of his Egyptian prison straight to the throne of power. Our portion begins with the dreams of Pharaoh himself, dreams that left him disturbed, whose meaning was beyond anyone's understanding. So the next morning, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, tells over his dreams to his inner circle, as Torah states, and it was in the morning. His spirit was agitated. So he sent and summoned all the necromancers of Egypt and all its wise men. Pharaoh related his dream to them, but none could interpret them for Pharaoh. The king of Egypt was bewildered. All his wise men and advisors could not solve the riddle of his dreams. Now, these were not ordinary people, but accomplished stargazers and necromancers. Pharaoh himself had an intimate knowledge of the forces of nature. Pharaoh knew that his dreams were of tremendous import and significance, yet he was frustrated because no one had a clue as to their meaning, and no one could assuage his distress. But these wise men were skilled in trafficking with dark forces. They were the most accomplished sorcerers in the world. So how is it that they could not interpret these dreams? 7 healthy ears of grain, 7 healthy cows, each set devoured by 7 wasted and emaciated ones in their stead? I mean, to us now, especially in our hindsight of knowing the truth, doesn't it seem a rather transparent allusion to nourishment and deprivation, to plenty and famine? But instead, Midrash informs us that Pharaoh's wise men told him that the succession of 7 cows means that you will father 7 daughters, but then you will bury all 7 daughters. And the succession of the 7 ears means that you will conquer 7 kingdoms, but then these 7 kingdoms will all rebel against you.
Wait a second, did you pick up on that? Please tell me you picked up on that, right?
What did you want me to pick up on? I caught the 7 daughters.
Who has 7 daughters and has to bury them?
What was that, Lot? I mean, Job?
I think so. I might be wrong about the number. Let's see, Job's... Is it 7 daughters?
I know he ended up with 3 daughters at the end. I don't know how many I don't remember how many he started with.
He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. But there is this idea, like, it almost seems to be foreshadowing that. I wonder if there's probably some Kabbalistic interpretations of the children of Job as being like, so you have 3 daughters that corresponds with the 3 Sephirot seen as like inherently feminine on the Tree of Life, and then you have 7 ones that are typically seen as masculine. I might be wrong about that.
Could be. Again, I see some strong parallels between the 3 daughters of Job and the 3 sons of Noah.
Downright to Pharaoh. But the dumbfounded state of incomprehension that he shared with his advisors was all part of Hashem's plan.
And I might be wrong, but wasn't Noah the 7th from Adam?
I thought he was the 8th. Maybe
See.
he was the 7th. It was one of the two.
Noah, 7th from Adam. Am I right about this? No, Enoch was the 7th from Adam, so that would make him the 10
Ninth.
generations. No, 10,
10th?
10 generations between Adam and Noah. That
Okay.
must be inclusive, like including them. So Adam is 1 and Noah is 10. So technically 8, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, because if it was 7 from Enoch, that means 8, the son of Enoch, and then the son of Enoch would have been Noah. So yeah, 10.
Yosef's entrance and ascension. God deliberately withheld the solution.
Wait, no, if Enoch was 7th, then his son would be 8th, then Noah would be 9th. Again, unless we're including inclusive, in which case the 8 would make sense because you have. Wait, I'm trying to think. So Enoch would be a 7th from Adam, which would make him number.
If he's the 7th from Adam, that would make him number 8. Unless he's the 6th from Adam, that would make him number 7.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. 7th from Adam makes him number 8. Therefore, 8th from Adam. But then 10th from Adam, wouldn't that? I'm going to look up the genealogy real quick. This is bugging the hell out of me. All right, Adam to Noah. Let's see. So it's Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalil, Yared, Enoch, Methuselah. Oh, Enoch was interesting. So Enoch was Noah's great-grandfather, apparently. I don't know why I thought grandfather. Anyway, let's continue.
From them so that their counsel would be confounded, just like the words of Isaiah in chapter 44 and verse 25, who abrogates the omens of the stargazers and makes fools of the astrologers, who makes wise men retreat and makes their knowledge foolish. It was all God's elaborate orchestration, preparing Pharaoh to receive Yosef and to elevate him. These dreams were actually a manifestation of chesed, of Hashem's kindness. Pharaoh was the leader of a nation and responsible for many lives, and in his compassion, Hashem was showing him what was about to transpire, what his divine wisdom had decreed on Egypt, in order to give Pharaoh the opportunity to make the necessary arrangements and preparations. But Yosef knew why all the interpretations failed. He knew what was missing.
Actually, wait.
Yosef and Pharaoh were like diametric opposites. Yosef's consciousness was never disconnected.
Interesting. So in this case, it's almost like because the Pharaoh has Joseph, it ends up balancing him out, but the Pharaoh without Joseph ends up becoming like the Pharaoh of the Exodus. You see where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
From the reality of Hashem, and at every moment of his life, he was a receptacle for divine inspiration. Pharaoh was in total denial of God the Creator and in total denial of God's divine providence. In the Egyptian worldview, human events were random and chaotic, driven by the influence of the planets. Divine providence means that as creator and ruler of the universe, God himself directs all of creation and oversees and maintains everything. But since God created this world and everything in it for the sake of man, his providence extends to man in a very special way, to every single individual. Every deed of man is weighed, and man is given every opportunity to strive towards perfecting himself, to strive towards attaining goodness. And God leads each man towards the destiny for which he was born and the purpose he was created to fulfill. The means of God's providence is not necessarily through overt miracles, but through everyday events, and always providing man with the opportunity for free choice. The prophet Jeremiah sums it up in chapter 32 and verse 19. Great in counsel, mighty in deeds, your eyes are open to all the ways of men, giving everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his actions. So this is all about divine providence. Pharaoh's mindset was totally fixated on a random world of materialism, devoid of any sense of unified divine direction. His world was a vision of a divided reality fought over by gods of conflicting powers manifested by nature, with man held hostage like a pawn in their game. In this determinist world, man is caught in the middle of a struggle between opposing forces, and there is no meaning to life, no guidance, no divine providence. Just endless eternal battles between forces of good and forces of darkness.
I mean,
his gods were all portrayals of the elements of the earth. And so extreme was his earthiness that it's even alluded to in his name. The Hebrew word for Pharaoh, paro, is made up of the same 3 letters that spell the word ha'afar, the dust or the soil of the earth. Therefore, Rabbeinu Bechaya teaches, God showed him dreams associated with the elements of the earth, the 7 cows and the 7 ears of grain. But their symbolism, conveying a message of the coming years of plenty and famine, alluded to God's providence over all material creation, because everything in this world, from the smallest detail, is under God's direct supervision and is carried out according to his decrees that he made on Rosh Hashanah, the day of the new year, awesome anniversary of the creation of man and time of judgment, and therefore small wonder that all this is taking place on Rosh Hashanah. Pharaoh's dreams of sustenance and famine took place on this very day. It was Rosh Hashanah that Yosef was freed from prison and brought before Pharaoh, for on this day God decrees the provision and sustenance for the whole world, for every individual and for every nation. So open up your heart, deeper still, to what God is showing Pharaoh. And I saw in my dream, says Pharaoh, and behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on a single stalk, healthy and good. All 7 were sprouting on a single stalk, because these 7 ears are really one unit.
And
Just
the
like,
menorah.
open up your heart, this is after all the Shabbat of Hanukkah this week. Just like the golden menorah in the Holy Temple that was fashioned out of one piece of gold, there were branches, 7 branches, and blossoms, and cups, and knobs, and a base. But it was not sectional, it was all one piece. Thus the verse in Numbers chapter 8 and verse 2 states, towards the face of the menorah shall the 7 lamps cast light. The 7 candles must illuminate in such a way that the light is unified, that they are no longer 7 lamps, but the 7 candles must illuminate. Chapter 8 and verse 2 states, towards the face of the menorah shall the 7 lamps cast light. The 7 candles must illuminate in such a way that the light is unified, that they are no longer 7 lamps, but a single unit shining with the power of unity. Thus Yosef informs Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one dream. All its components are one. Yosef says what God is about to do, he told Pharaoh. God is revealing his secret to you. He wants you to know the secret of how he runs the world. It's not like you think. It's not like what you think you see. To you, it appears that everything just happens, that nature is functioning in an assortment of disparate forces. But in reality, there's only one power that drives all the different aspects of the world and all of nature's manifestations. Hashem gave Pharaoh these dreams to inform him that he alone is the primary cause and that this world is under his supervision alone. Plenty and famine and every variable in human existence comes from him alone, and he adjusts them, he alone, as he sees fit, meting out reward and punishment to man. Hashem's message to Pharaoh is an eternal message for all of us. Now hear this. The world of appearances is one big lie. Pharaoh and all his wise men could not accept that there is a creator who runs the whole world with divine providence. They believed that human events were governed by various powers, energies, stars. So it was amongst these that they sought answers. And thus, on Rosh Hashanah morning, plucked from his deep, dark dungeon and cleaned up very nicely, Yosef is brought before the king of Egypt, who says, so I heard you can comprehend a dream to interpret it. And Yosef, after everything he's been through, answers, that's beyond me. It is God who will respond. Yosef is brought before the king of Egypt, who says, so I heard you can comprehend a dream to interpret it. And Yosef, after everything he's been through, answers, that's beyond me. It is God who will respond with Pharaoh's welfare. And Yosef tells Pharaoh, the first thing you have to know is that there's a God in the world, and you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're looking for the solution in the wrong place. The answer is neither with the magicians nor in the stars. And all the tells Pharaoh, the first thing you have to know is that there's a God in the world, and you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're looking for the solution in the wrong place. The answer is neither with the magicians nor in the stars. And all these people you surround yourself with can't see past the limitations of the self-imposed prison of their own minds. The real meaning of your dreams is the meaning of all our dreams, and the meaning of everything that is. There's only one God in the world. The dream of Pharaoh is one dream. What God is about to do, he has told Pharaoh. There's only one, and he controls this world and all the worlds. And he brought forth and brings forth all of existence, including you. He watches over all, and all emanates from him, past, present, and future. He hasn't and doesn't and will not change. His unity is the greatest power of all, the only power. So now open up your heart deeper than ever before in your life. Miqetz is the name of our portion, and the word means at the end of. The portion is called so because its opening verse states, it happened at the end of 2 years to the day. It was the end of Yosef's stay in prison, and God's grand plan, the exact moment for Yosef's release, had arrived. The word ketz means an end, a conclusion. But every end signals a new beginning, just as the events that transpire at the opening of Miqetz herald an immediate new beginning for Yosef, who transitions from being a prisoner in a dungeon to becoming viceroy of Egypt. But within the framework of Torah tradition, this word ketz, the end, essentially grabs our attention in terms of the concept of an end leading to a new beginning.
And it's also
because the
interesting
word is
because he
often
does that
used as a
twice,
portent for the
both
great
when
changes that will
he's
take place
in
at
the
the time.
pit and then he's sold and then he becomes, master of Potiphar's house, under his charge. And it happens again after he's imprisoned a second time, and then he ends up becoming, it's almost like, if you think about it, every time that Joseph falls, he rises even higher. Right?
Definitely. No.
It's also interesting, especially, in the context of I'll probably talk more about it later, but, just what we've talked about. I don't know, it feels very prescient, very, timely.
Yeah, and again, some of it is that Joseph, he's the innocent that's wrong is being done to him. And that's kind of like, God's protecting him and restoring him with more because of it. Tag.
It's interesting because I was actually talking with someone today kind of about that concept, and they brought up the story of Hanuman.
From the Vedas?
Yeah, and like basically, I forget exactly what it was, but basically that he would. There's also like some elements that are almost like wow, what is it, Icarian? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Hanuman's an interesting character. I kind of see him as in a lot of ways, a cognate to Hercules because he was like the, more or less that outside agent, that human who they needed on their sides in order to win the victory over the opponents.
Yeah, but basically this idea of also just the idea of the sun being a mango in the sky that just put a smile on my face. But but no, I feel like you definitely have some elements there with Joseph as well, where it's like, if you think about it, he's kind of the jester of his family.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
But anyway, to continue.
Time known as Ketz Hayamim, the end of days, the time when all the world will be rectified and all humanity will be united in the recognition of the one God. And thus, our portion and its lessons are already foreshadowing the end of days. But commenting on our portion, the Midrash makes a connection between our opening verse, Vayehi Miqetz Shenatayim Yamim, which means it happened at the end of 2 years to the day, to another verse, and this one found in the book of Job, in chapter 28 and verse 3. He sets an end to the darkness and he investigates the end of everything, the source of gloom and the shadow of death. Rabbeinu Bechaya teaches that Hashem sets a limit to everything. He set an end for Yosef to leave prison. He set an end for the exodus from Egypt, as we learn in Exodus chapter 12 and verse 41. It was at the end of 430 years, and it was on that very day that all the legions of Hashem left Egypt. But open up your heart deeper still. These words from Job, he set an end to darkness, are actually an allusion to none other than these very days of
Hear
Hanukkah.
this? The legions of Hashem, or the Tzva, Adonai, like that's like the hosts of heaven, except in this, it's not the Tzva. Oh wow! I wonder because the name like Elohim Tzvaot, like God of the legions or God of the armies or of the hosts.
I've heard the term, yeah.
It's also one that some people have interpreted as was it as some people interpreted Tzvaot as Sabazeos. Like, I do not understand how they got it from that. I mean, I could understand how people maybe in the Greek times would have got that, but to actually think that they are the same, I don't know. Anyway, but wait, what was it? Oh my god, I totally forgot. What is it we're talking about?
You're talking about Sabazios and how they
No,
derived that?
Before that. It's about basically. So it's referring here to when the legions or when the Tzvaot left Egypt. But the thing is, are they heavenly armies, or are they the Israelites who left Egypt?
I was going to say, I'm always a fan of saying, hey, why not use both?
Fair enough. It's like as above, so below.
The period known as the Greek exile, when the forces of the Greek Syrian king Antiochus invaded the land and defiled the Holy Temple and enacted decrees against Torah study and observance, in the writings of our sages, this period is referred to as darkness. Midrash teaches that the words in the second verse of Genesis, and darkness covered the face of the deep, alludes to this period because the Greeks darkened the eyes of Israel through their decrees, is the teaching. They forced Israel to write on the horn of an ox, "We have no portion in the God of Israel." But he set an end to darkness, and that force of darkness was defeated. And thus the very word with which our portion begins, Miqetz, is a bridge that joins the story of Yosef in Egypt with the Hanukkah miracle and spans all the way to the end of days. At times, we are all like Pharaoh and his advisors, trapped in the self-imposed prison of our own minds. Every person faces times of darkness in their life. And in the life of the whole world, there are times of darkness as well. But these times of darkness come to an end. He said an end to darkness. Ketz sam lechoshech. So now really, really, really open up your heart deeper than ever before. The word ketz, the end, is also connected by its root to the word yitzika, yikitza, to wake up, a new beginning. Time to wake up. There's a limit to how much darkness will be in this world. Yosef entered into the darkness in a dungeon in Egypt. It couldn't get any darker. But this is unbelievable. He realized who put him there. He knows it was God who put him there, and he knows it was to teach him about placing his trust in Hashem. Thus, the Holy Baal Shem Tov teaches us that the whole story of Yosef in that jail is to teach us about trusting God. And this is the deepest truth in the world. Hashem delivers each person commensurate to how much one trusts that his deliverance comes from Hashem. The whole gripping story of the righteous Yosef's ascent from a pit to the divinely appointed position of viceroy of Egypt is a lesson in the level of faith and trust in God that we all aspire to. Yosef's trials and tests and dreams, as well as the dreams of Pharaoh's officers and those of Pharaoh himself, and the miracles of Hanukkah, both the miracle of the oil and the military victory of the Hashmonaim priests, everything points to one single source. Everything leads back to the presence of the creator of the world, and not simply to his presence, but to his personally watching over, personally directing, and to his being personally involved with every nuance of our lives. Our challenge is to recognize, acknowledge, and be thankful for the guiding hand of divine providence. Thank you for watching this week's Jerusalem Lights Torah portion. Blessings to you for Shabbat Shalom and a beautiful, light and love-filled Hanukkah.
Sorry. Give me a moment. But what do you think of that video? I really like that.
No, I agree. It definitely is a good one.
Huh?
No, I was saying I agree it was a good video.
Oh no, I just heard the start in the background.
Yeah, no, I was pulling up the so I could watch it on my phone. I didn't have my
Shalom and welcome to Simchat Yisrael.
Oh God. Forewarning, this one's from a Messianic Jewish, aka Christian channel, so keep that in mind, but I do want to hear what their take is on why Joseph's brothers don't recognize him.
Just because they're Christian doesn't mean they're bad.
No, I know, but I still feel weird about it.
In this week's Parsha, after a long and eventful separation from his family, Joseph is finally reunited with his brothers. But his brothers are completely unaware of how momentous this meeting is because they fail to recognize Joseph, now an Egyptian viceroy, as their long-lost sibling. I have the same complaint about this story as I do with every Superman comic ever written. Why don't Clark Kent's friends recognize that he's Superman? He's not even wearing a mask. I think I'd recognize one of my coworkers, even if he took off his glasses and slicked back his hair. And I'm certain I would recognize my own brother, even if it had been a few years and he was wearing one of those funny Egyptian hats. And yet when Joseph meets his brothers, not one of them recognizes him. I'm Jared Eaton from Simchat Yisrael, and this week we're going to look at the story of Joseph and try to find out what is beneath the disguise. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel down below. It seems unlikely, but the brothers' obliviousness is not that strange if you look at it within the context of the greater story of Genesis. The Torah has a way of drawing attention to important ideas through the use of repeating themes. Throughout the Torah, and especially in Genesis, we see the same stories being played out again and again. On 3 separate occasions, a patriarch will leave home during a famine and disguise his wife as his sister to avoid being killed in a strange land. On 3 separate occasions, Isaac, Jacob, and Moses will all find their future brides at a well, watering their animals. And here in Parsha Miqetz, we see the 4th occasion that someone uses a disguise to achieve their ends. The first was Jacob tricking his father by wearing his brother Esau's clothing. The second was Laban tricking Jacob into marrying Leah by disguising her as Rachel. The third was Tamar, disguising herself as a prostitute to sleep with Judah. And now, Joseph disguises himself to his brothers in order to test them. In each case, the disguise seems exceedingly flimsy. Isaac may have been blind, but he still should have been able to tell his sons apart. Jacob didn't even disguise his voice. And Jacob spent 7 years longing after Rachel, yet spent an entire intimate night with Leah before realizing he'd been tricked. These are not brilliant disguises here. How is it that these people were blind to the true identities of those closest to them? The answer may lie in the book of Isaiah. When God gives the prophet his commission, he tells Isaiah to render the hearts of this people insensitive, their ears dull, and their eyes dim. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and return and be healed. In these verses, we see that God sometimes works by closing the eyes of his people to the truth in order for something greater to be fulfilled. In this context, perhaps it's not so strange that so many people were fooled by such transparent disguises. Had Isaac recognized Jacob, our patriarch might never have gone on his journey of transformation. Had Jacob seen through Laban's obvious deceit, he would never have married the woman who bore 7 of his children and sired half the tribes of Israel. And if Joseph's brothers realized who he was, true reconciliation would never have happened. They would have immediately cringed and groveled, and beggars realized who he was. True reconciliation would never have happened. Had Jacob seen through Laban's obvious deceit, he would never have married the woman who bore 7 of his children and
6.
sired half the tribes of Israel.
Oh,
And if
7.
Joseph's brothers
He's right.
realized who he
Dina.
was, true reconciliation would never have happened. They would have immediately cringed and groveled and begged for their lives. Joseph would have no way of reconnecting with them on their level. Joseph needed those days in disguise to gauge his
I'm joking.
to see that they were truly repentant of what
This
they
is
had
not
done.
a cigar.
When he knew he could trust them again, then he was able to take off his disguise and make their family whole again. By closing their eyes, God allowed these people to see a greater truth when he opened them again. Isaac finally saw Jacob as a son who deserved to be blessed. Jacob finally saw Leah as a wife deserving of a husband who loved her. Judah finally saw Tamar as a woman deserving a child and a legacy. And the sons of Israel finally saw Joseph as their true brother. In each case, the end result of the deception was the restoration of the relationship and the coming together of God's plan for his people. Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph's brothers all needed to be blind to the disguises so that when the veil was lifted, they could see what God's plan truly was. This is an encouraging thought for Messianic Jews. We live in a world where the greater part of the Jewish people do not recognize Yeshua as the promised Messiah and the Son of God. But imagine what would have happened if the Jewish people had seen Yeshua for who he was. They would have embraced him and made him their king. All of Israel would be saved, but Messiah would never.
See, so you guys should be thanking Jews for not accepting Jesus, right? That's what he's saying, right?
I'm not entirely sure what he's saying, but I suppose somebody could take it that way.
Have gone to the cross. He would never have paid the price of our sins. And though Israel would be saved, the rest of the world would drown in darkness. So instead, God dimmed the. And though Israel would be saved, the rest of the world.
I'm sorry, is there a message he's trying to send by having this be the image at 420? Is he saying 420 blaze it, or is he saying 420 you'll get blazed if you do it? I'm joking, of course.
Yeah.
I don't think he paid that much attention to it.
But I find hope in the knowledge that while God sometimes blinds his people to the truth, he never does it permanently. The sons of Jacob didn't recognize Joseph for who he was at first. But when the truth was revealed, Israel was saved and the family made whole again. The time will come when God removes the veil from his people's eyes and all of Israel will finally see who Yeshua truly is. And just as Joseph restored his family, so too will Yeshua restore our nation, put our family back together, and make our world whole again. Shalom and thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. And don't forget to visit simchatisrael.org to learn more.
Okay, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. All right, so let's see, where is it? Gotta get some water.
Yeah, I've seen far more annoying, messianic Jewish videos.
All right, let's do this. Baruchu et Adonai hamborach, Baruch Adonai hamborach leolam vaed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. And it is taking a while to load. Let's see. Okay, there. Let's see, is it 43 that we're starting at? That is correct. All right. Veharav kaved baaretz. And the famine was heavy in the land. Veyehi kasher kilu leochel et hashever asher habiu mimitzrayim. Vayomer aleihem avihem shuvu shivru lanu me'at ochel. And so as Kilu, as all of them had eaten their shever, their wheat that Heviu, that they brought maybe trying from Egypt, Vayomer Alehem. Honestly, I might just do it like this. It's faster. Vayomer Alehem, and he said to, and they said to, and their father said to them, Shuvu, return, Shivru lanu, buy more wheat for us, Ma'at ochel, from which to eat. I'm not sure. Vayomer elav, and he said to them, and Vayomer elav Yehuda leomer, and Judah said to him, saying, Ha'ed ha'id, I sure, we surely bore witness, Banu, your sons. Wait, Banu. Oh, hey, the witness, basically, the witness warned us that, Haish, the man certainly warned us, warned in us, saying, do not tiru panai, do not let your faces be seen by me. Yeah, I'm just going to do that first because it's easier to translate. Vayomer elav Yehuda lomer haed banu haish leomer lo tiro panai bilti achichem itchem. And Judah said to him, saying, the man certainly warned us, saying, do not let your faces be seen by me. Do not let you or your faces be seen. Or wait, unless you're okay. Do not let me see your face. Wait, do not let your face be seen. Contextually, lest your brother is with you. Im yeshech mishalech et echinu itanu nerda venishbara alecha ochel. If yeshech, if you will allow for mishalach, if you allow to send our brother to us or with us, if we will let us take our brother with us, Nerda, we swear. We will go down. We will go down and we will buy more wheat for you to eat. Ve'imenecha mishlach lo nered ki haish amar elenu lo tiru panai bilti achichem itchem. And if you don't send, we will not go down, because the man said to us, do not let your face be seen, lest your brother is with you. Vayomer Yisrael lama hareotem li ha'agid laish ha'o lachemach. And Israel said, why would you do this evil? Why would you all do this evil to me, or do ill by me? Lagi, to tell to the man. Why did you do evil to me, to tell to the man that there is another brother, that you have another brother? Vayomru Shaul haish lanu ulemoladeteinu leomer haod avichem chai hayesh lachem ach vanaged lo al pi hadvarim haele hayadu aneda ki omer horidu et achichem. And he said, certainly asking the man, and they said, asking Sha'al, the man certainly or continued to ask us about and ask us and our homeland. Moladetenu. Oh, moledet. Like your heritage. That's the best translation, probably. Kept asking us of our heritage, saying more. Avichem Chai. How saying is your father still alive? Hayesh lachem ach. Do you have another brother? And and we told him by upon the mouth of the words. Alpi hadvarim. Alpi. Accordingly or as such, the word we told him as such these words. Hayadua neda. Hayadua. Or like why or how neda were we to know that he would say to bring our brother down to Egypt.
ויאמר יהודה אל ישראל אביו שלחה נא איתי ונקומה ונהלכה ונחיה ולא נמות. נמות גם אנחנו גם אתה גם תפנו.
And Judah said to Israel, his father, send the youth with us or with me, Vinakuma, and so that we may rise and so that we may get up and go and live and not die. Also we and also you and also tefenu. I've never heard that term. Tof. Children. Interesting. So I wonder if Tophet doesn't necessarily refer solely to drums, but could have actually referred to this place of children. Again, potentially not in the best context, but in this context, it just refers to children, little children. So, but this is weird. So that we may live and not die. You and we and our Tefenu, our children. I was going to say I don't think he has any young children anymore.
אנוכי אערבנו מידי תבקשנו אם לא הביאותיו עלה אליך והצגתיו לפניך וחטאתי לך כל הימים. I will Arav. Interesting. Arav. Yeah, I didn't know it could mean to pledge. Yeah. And I will pledge. And I will pledge us. And I will pledge. Eshavernu. And I will pledge from Meadi, from my hand, to Vakshenu. Vakash. You may seek or request law. If not, I guess it's saying hold me responsible. I don't get the context in this. If not, Haviotiav. If I do not bring him to you, Vehatskatiach, and establish him or like present him before you, and then I will have sinned to you, kol hayamim, like all the days, so literally forever in this context, or like forever on. Kilule hitmahemanu כי עתה שבנו זה פעמיים, kilule. Because if not, tihiamti. For if we did not linger, because the time that we returned, this is that pamayim? I don't know. It says, for we could have been there and back twice if we had not dawdled. We could have. Honestly, I don't know. If we did not linger, because now we could have Shavnu returned there twice. If not because we tarried or lingered. ויאמר עליהם ישראל אביהם אם כן נפו זאת עשו קחו מזמרת הארץ בכליכם והורידו לאיש מנחה מעט צרי ומעט דבש נכות ולוט בתנים ושקדים. And he said, and Israel, their father, said to them, wait, what was that? One second. Sorry. And Israel, their father, said to them, if so, where is this? What is it? Let's see. Efo. What's this? If so, then asu, then do this. Kachu, take mizimrat. Take zimra, choice. Take from choice products of the land, bikleichem, in your vessels, vehoridu, and bring them to the man, mincha, as a gift, me'at, a little, some from sari, what is this? Balsam or salve, umeat, dvash, honey, nochot, spice, perhaps tragacanthum, yeah. Velot, I think that's just resin, I think. No, myrrh, potentially. Or ladanum. I think there's a few potential explanations for that. Betanim ushkedim. What? I don't know. Betanim. Oh, pistachio nuts? Interesting. I wonder why they're called it. Maybe they have some oval nut? I don't know. Something to do with bellies? Pistachio nut delicacy given to Joseph by Jacob through his sons. Ushkedim, and almonds. V'kesef mishne kachu beyedchem v'et hakesef hamushav befi amtechotechem tashivu beyedchem ulai mishkehu. And sulfur mishneh, and take oh, interesting. And silver, double the silver that you take in your hands, and the silver hamushav that you returned bifi in the amtochatechem, with like filled to the mouth, the sack filled to the mouth with silver. Tashivu, return beyadechem, return within your hands. Ulai mishke, maybe mishke, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe this was a mistake. V'etachichem kachu v'kumu shuvu el haish and your brothers and your brother, take him and also and rise and return to the man. ואל שדי ייתן לכם רחמים לפני האיש ושילח לכם את אחיכם אחרת בנימין ואני כאשר שוכלתי Shochalti. And El Shaddai, the breasted God or Almighty God in some interpretations, Yiten will give, and may El Shaddai give to you Rachamim, mercy, like divine mercy, Lifnei Haish, okay, interesting. So, may El Shaddai give. What was this? Give. Give. Rachamim lifnei haish. Mercy. Or wait. Rachamim haish. Like. Wait. I'm trying to see how it translates it so I can make sure. Let's see. Okay, so yeah. And may El Shaddai grant to you Rachamim, mercy, lifnei, like towards, or really it's saying may he grant the man. Oh, no, it's saying may he grant the man. See, this is weird how it can jump around. Like, at least if we want to interpret it within the way that English, like the English way of understanding it, you kind of have to rephrase in order for it to make sense. But basically, so if you follow the cursor, and El Shaddai gave the man, wait before. Honestly, I'm not sure. And El Shaddai gave, and may El Shaddai give to you mercy. Okay, that's why I was getting it wrong. I'm just tired. May give you divine mercy before the man, that he may send, and that he may send you and your brother after. You and your brothers, maybe. You and your brother Shimon. That's who it's referring to. And after him, Benjamin, and I will at and as for me, shakalti. I guess it says it. Yeah, because it changes form. So basically, shakalti. See, I don't get how it actually shacholti versus shochalti. Oh, I think maybe if I am made to be bereaved, I will be bereaved. If I will be made childless, I will be. I don't know. It's weird. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on. ויקחו אנשים את המנחה הזאת ומשנה כסף לקחו בידם. ואת בנימין ויקומו וירדו מצרים ויעמדו לפני יוסף. And they took and the men took the gift, the mincha, took that gift, and double the silver that they took from the hand that they took in their hands, and Benjamin. And they rose and they went down. It's interesting how they get up and then they go down. I bet you there's some commentary on this. So they got up, they rose, and then they went down to Egypt, and they stood, Yamdu Lifnei Yosef, and they stood before Joseph. Vayire Yosef itam et Binyamin vayomer leasher al beito havet ha'anashim הביתה, והוא טובח טבח, ואכן כי איתי, ויאכלו אנשים בצהריים. And Joseph saw that Benjamin was with them, and he said, he said as such to his household, or like to his house. Hey, Beitol, his house. I guess it can also be household those belonging to household. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, he said to his house, Heva et hanashim, bring in the people, bring in the men to the house. And tevach, and wait, what? Oh, I thought it was saying slaughter. Yeah, and slaughter or prepare, slaughter and prepare, and make establish, or make sure to, or like there's emphatic idea to the tevach. Basically, maybe slaughter and slaughter an animal to be slaughtered, and prepare it for me, yochlu, so that I can because with me the men will eat at noon, or at Soharaim. Wait, give me one moment. ויעש האיש כאשר אמר יוסף, ויבא האיש את הנשים בית יוסף, and the man did as Joseph said. So that's interesting. So here Joseph isn't the man anymore, because it's more like from his perspective now. V'yaveh ha'ish, and the man brought the anashim, the men, into the house of Joseph. So let's see what it says here. They will go down to each. Wait, let's see. Yakumu ve'yarudu, or Yakumu ve'yerdu, rather. Okay, commentary. Let's see English. Let's get some English. Is there any English here? They stood face. Okay, wait. No, let's find something else. Wait. Okay, let's see. Ve'amudu lifnei Yosef. Let's see. Interesting. A Kabbalistic approach to the expression Anashim here is an allusion to the 10 sages who died a martyr's death at the hands of the Romans in expiation for the sin of Joseph's 10 brothers who had sold him. This allusion commences with a verse, and it is the reason why the term Anashim is applied to the brothers, occurs 10 times throughout the course of the story. I shall come back to this aspect of the story. What's this? That's Rabbeinu Baya. Let's see. Do they say anything about going up and going down? Doesn't seem like it. That's unfortunate. Let's see. Is there anything that they say about the use of El Shaddai here? And may God Almighty, dang. Let's see. Interesting. May give you mercy before the man. What prompted Yaakov to sing the attribute of God known as Shaddai when blessing his sons before they commenced his journey? It teaches you that Yaakov had already endured many trials in his life. These already commenced when he was still in his mother's womb, a connection to Shaddai, and Esau fought with him to become the firstborn. And compare it when his mother was distraught and asked God what was going on inside her womb. The sages concluded that the two as yet unborn children had already struggled for possession of two worlds. Esau tried to kill Yaakov already as soon as he was born, as is evident from Amos 1:11, when he pursued his brother with the sword, similarly for trying to kill him. He had to flee to love. Okay, let's see. Next is, oh my God, this is wild. Let's see. God Almighty. This phrase means the one who has the power to do all these things. But notice the connection of El Shaddai with Rachamim, with mercy, which is typically seen as like a feminine attribute.
No, I see what you're saying.
Let's see. Yeah, here it says Vishalach, he'll release Shimon, it says. Okay, yeah. El Shaddai, who gives plenteous mercy, and in whose hand El Shaddai is a God who gives plenteous mercy, and in whose hand is sufficient power to give. May he give you mercy. This is the real meaning of the words. A midrashic explanation is he who said to the universe, enough. May he say enough to my troubles. I have no rest since my youth. Interesting. It's like, oh, Shaddai, that is enough. Oh, interesting, because like, have you ever heard Dayenu?
No.
It's a Passover song, but it's like, Ilu ilu hotzianu mi mitzrayim mi mitzrayim dayenu dayenu. Basically means it would have been enough for us. Like if he would have done all these things, like different parts of the Passover story. I forget how the whole thing goes, but that's interesting. I never thought that Shaddai has Shaddai, the God El that is El that's enough, literally, or that is sufficient. He gives you mercy. Let's see. He who said to the universe, enough, may he say enough to my troubles. I have had no rest since my youth. Trouble through Lavan, trouble through Esau, the trouble of Rachel, the trouble of Dinah, the trouble of Joseph, the trouble of Simeon, the trouble of Benjamin. Oh, wow. I love that. I really love this. I never heard this interpretation, but it's from Rashi. Let's see, is there anything? Okay, yeah, let's continue because I need to get moving. Okay. Let's see. All right, so we're on 17, I think. Yeah, I brought it into this house. Vayiru hanashim ki huvu beit Yosef vayomru al dvar hakesef hashav be'amtechotenu batchila אנחנו מובאים להתגולל עלינו ולהתנפל עלינו ולקחת אותנו לעבדים ואת חמורנו. And the men saw that that they were brought it. And the men feared at being brought into the house of Joseph, and they said Aldavar, and they said upon the word, like upon, and they said, Vayom, and they said upon their thought, upon their thing, upon their, they said upon Hadvar. Interesting thing. Hadvar. They thought, that's weird that it says they said rather than they thought. And they said Aldvar, like they said upon thinking, the silver that we returned, or Hashev, the silver that we returned with in our knapsacks at Betchila, in the beginning, we muvaim. We entered it. We entered lehit golel to roll away. I don't know. To roll away, aleinu, to roll us away, velehit nafel, and to cause us to fall, aleinu, before us, and to cause us to fall upon ourselves. And that you would take from us, take from us la'avadim, for servant or for slaves, ve'et chamorenu, and also with our pack animals. is interesting because you know how that parallels what ends up happening.
No, fill me in. What happens then?
Okay, listen. They were frightened at being brought into Joseph's house. They thought it must be because of the money that was placed or that we returned with in our bags the first time that that basically saying that because of that they've been brought into the house so as to cause us to fall alenu upon ourselves or maybe cause us to fall, and so that you will take us for slaves.
Yeah, I mean, I catch that it's echoing back to Joseph's dream before his
No,
brothers. No,
no, it's a foreshadow.
okay.
Slaves taken in Egypt.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that angle. No, it works as both.
It's interesting how it like goes both back and forward, like past and future. Let's see, Lahit Gola, to turn around the fact that our money had been found in our bags as a pretext to attack us, and with our donkeys. Let's see, we would not be so worried, but the fact that we were brought here together with our donkeys is proof that something else is afoot. Interesting. That he may seek accusation and fall upon us as a man falls intentionally upon another man and says, "You tripped me." Interesting. I like that interpretation. That's from Ibn Ezra. See, like I wish there was more scholarship like this still going on, but unfortunately, it's like, oh, but all the times of the greats are gone. Now we just talk about the greats. We don't make commentary on we make commentary on commentary. Let's see, where are we at? Oh wait, did I find anything? Let's see. According to Onklos, let's see, which he translates as. Let's see. Is there anything about? I want to see if they talk about this as foreshadowing. Galat, Turco, and that they may fall upon us. That's interesting. It doesn't seem like there's any. Take us for. Nafal. To play Lord over. Okay. Anyway, let's continue because I don't think I'm going to find. Honestly, Lahit Golel. Okay. ויגשו אל האיש אשר על בית יוסף וידברו אליו פתח הבית. And they approached the man that was upon the house of Joseph, and he said to them, and they said to him, Petach habayit, open the house. No, and they said to him at the entrance of the house, Vayomru, saying, Bi Adoni, Bi Adoni Yarod, in me, I don't know, in me, my Lord, Yored, Yoradnu, we certainly came down, Bitchila, from the beginning, Lishbor, Ochel, to purchase grain as food. Vayihi ki banu el hamalon vaniftacha vet am tachotenu vehine kesef ish befi am tachto. כספנו ומשקלו ונשב אותו בידינו. Wait, interesting. Amtachto. Oh, interesting. So amtachto, it comes from tachat. So it's like a backpack. Literally, it's a backpack. Because here you have tachat. So here, let's see, sack, flexible container. It's from tachat. Wait, matach? Interesting. Oh, it's amtacha. That's fascinating. It just happens to be so similar to like amtachad is similar to tachad, that I thought that was the case, but it's not. And so it was that we came to the hotel. I'm drinking to the inn. Vaniftacha, and opened opened our sacks, or our backpacks. Vehine kesef, and behold, kesef ish, silver at the mouth of each man's amtacha, to the mouth of each man's bag. Kaspenu b'mishkalo, our silver b'mishkal, in heaviness, v'nashev, and we have returned oto to you, or to him, b'yadenu, with it in our hands. With the weight in our hands. וכסף אחר הורדנו בידינו, לשבור אוכל לא ידענו, משם כספנו באמתחותינו. Let's see. And silver after, and after. Wait, and silver? The kesef acher, and silver after horadnu, we went down beyadenu. And after we went down and after we went down. See, so it's acher horadnu, the kesef beyadenu, but that's not how it actually is read. That's how you would read it if you were reading it how it should be in English. So literally, this is, and silver after we went down in our hands. But the way that we should understand this, because that's basically what it actually is, if you're not, the thing is, it's language forces perspective. So the fact that we're translating this to English means we have to translate it a certain way for it to make sense. But it already makes sense if you're not thinking with this inherently, English lens. So literally, and silver after we went down in our hands. What it's saying, and silver after we went down was in our hands. I mean, like there's so many ways you could read it, but yeah. So let's try reading it like that. And silver after we went down was in our hands to buy grain as food. We did not know from there was our silver, Misham. We did not know from where or from who. Basically, we did not know where. I don't know. It's hard to translate into English, but basically, and after we went down with silver in our hands to buy food, to buy grain as food, we did not know from where, from whom our silver, from whom the silver in our sacks was from. ויאמר שלום לכם, אל תיראו, אלוהיכם ואלוהי אביכם נתן לכם את המון באמתחותיכם, כספכם בא אליי, ויוצא עליהם את Shimon. And he said, peace be upon you, shalom lachem, or basically shalom alechem. May peace be upon you. Al tirau, do not fear. Elohechem, your God, and the God, your God, and the God of your fathers gave to you mitamun, gave you a hidden treasure be'amtochtenu, in your knapsacks. Kaspchem, your silver, ba elai, came to me. Ba let's see. Ba elai, I received your silver, v'yotze elehem, and he brought out to them at Shimon. He brought Shimon out to them. Vayaveh ha'ish et ha'anashim beita Yosef vayiten mayim vayirchatzu raglehem vayiten mispo lechamorehem. And the man came to the men in the house of Joseph, and he gave them water, and he washed their feet. Whoa, that's interesting. Oh no, he gave them water so that they could wash their feet. Never mind, he's not washing it for them. And he gave them some fodder, some food for their chamorehem, for their donkeys. V'yachinu et hamincha ad bo Yosef b'tzarayim ki sham yochlu lachem. And he is and they presented. Is that it? They prepared. I think presented, set up, arranged. They arranged the gift. Adbo. Until Joseph came at noon, because they heard that their yochlu lachem, that there they were eating lachem, that there they were eating bread, or like eating grain. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense why they wouldn't just say why they were eating. I bet there's some commentary on this. Any thoughts?
Not really, just following along.
Let's see. Oh, interesting. Uncharacteristically, the Aleph of Vayaviu has an emphasizing dot in it, indicating that the brothers strove to find favor as they presented their offering in fulfillment of the dream in which their sheaths bowed down to his. Again, I feel like that's oddly phallic. Maybe that's just, looking at this from more of a classics perspective, but like, it's kind of hard not to see that. Let's see, they brought him the gift. I want to see what they say about lachem. Is there anything they say about lachem? And I don't think there is. All right. Let me also just check. So Vayigash is okay. So, let's see. So we're going until. Let's see. So we're still on 43. So 44, we only go until 17. So that means we need to find. Okay, so that's not that bad. So we're on 25, and then it goes until 34. So yeah, let's just catch up, and I'll take a break once we get to the next chapter. ויבוא יוסף הביתה ויביאו לו את המנחה אשר בידם הביתה וישתחוו לו ארצה. And Joseph came to the house, or to his house, or he came home, literally. Vayaviu came to the house, came home. Interesting. Coming home makes sense, but coming house doesn't. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, no, it says something about the use of language, definitely.
Oh, you know what it is? I think I figured it out. It has to do with the way that certain like that English develops. So house, I think, is connected to casa, because ka and ha have connections, and they also, kas, kaus, has, house, whereas home is derived from heim, which is Germanic. So one's derived from Latin, one's derived from. It's the same reason why you can say, I am. Was it? To him I am giving to him. To him I am donating, I am donate. Wait, was it? He's don't. I forget exactly what it is, but the way that depending on which language family the words come from determines on how they can be used, and it's something that we just take for granted today. It's like we're blind to it unless someone studies enough linguistics to pick it out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find more on that, but anyway, actually, you know what? I'm going to look this up real quick because this is going to bug the ever-living crap out of me if I don't. All right, let's see. Why is it coming home and not coming house? Yeah, I might just want to look this up later because I don't think I'm going to find anything. But we will find something about
It's still
this.
an interesting rabbit hole, just for later.
Yeah. Okay, where did Safari go? Oh, I never changed. Okay, so what's that? Okay, and yeah, I read that. So and Joseph came to his house, and he came to them, and they came to him. They brought to him the gift that was in their hands. To the house, into the house, and they bowed down to him, bowed down onto the ground to him. Vaisha. It's funny because you ever hear the people that are like, "Oh, you can't bow down to anybody but God." It's like only in this idea that you're bowing down to someone as God. Yeah, you're only supposed to do that to God, but like people bow down in reverence all the time.
Apparently, they don't.
וישע להם לשלום ויאמר השלום אביכם הזקן אשר אמרתם העודנו חי. And he asked them, Lishlom. He asked, and he asked that. It is interesting. It says he greeted them, but Vaisha, and he inquired of them, peaceful, like in peace or for peace, and saying Hashalom avichem, the welfare of your father, has like of your elderly father that you said. Haodenu Chai, is he still living? It's interesting. Here it says, is he still living? But it translates it as, is he still in good health? I wonder. Also, you want to hear this intro? So have you ever heard the phrase like Am Yisrael Chai?
No.
Really?
No. I don't encounter Hebrew that much all the time, Ariel. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm surprised. It's anyway. So Am means the people, Yisrael means Israel, and then Chai means living. So like the people of Israel are living or alive, but like it's a song. So Am Yisrael Chai. But then the second part of it is Od Avinu Chai, that are like Od still or like more. Avinu, our father, Chai, is alive. So it's interesting how this is kind of connected. Like, Odavichem Chai, is your father still alive? Even though really it's Odavinu Chai. But what I think is so fascinating is that at first I was like, okay, well, who's it referring to as Avinu? Because I was like, okay, well, clearly it's referring to Hashem, because it's like, okay, God is the father. But no, it's actually referring to Jacob. And the reason, because first of all, I mean, you have this idea that, there's El Chai, there's the living God, but at the same time, God isn't living. So really, it's talking about a human. And it's interesting because how can you have a father who never dies? And it's because it's referring to the people personified, or the father personified into the people, or the people personified into the father.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you have some really interesting stuff. Okay, is your father well, the old man? Our verse has a shalom in place of an adjective shalem. It is abridged and should be read as it is written. Hashalom ha la vichem. Is your father in peace? Ve'ata shalom, and peace be upon thee, is similar. Ve'ata shalom, and you will be peace, and to you peace, and you peace. He asked them how they were. Is your aged father well? Is there? Let's see. If had been affected by his aging, or whether it was surprise ever. Okay, let's continue. Has a Ken, old man, reference to Yitzchak, who had been alive. Oh, interesting. Avichem has a Ken Asher. So apparently, Torah HaYaroch understands this as a reference to Isaac, rather that because the Zaken refers to the old man, in which case it's like, oh, granddad, not, or like old dad, not young our dad. Let's see. Vayomru shalom leavdecha leavinu odenu chai. Yeah, here, avinu odenu chai. Switch this around, you get odenu avinu chai, or shorten that to od avinu chai. Like still are, or like odenu are. It's interesting. It emphasizes it here. Vayomru shalom leavdecha leavinu odenu chai vayikdu vayishtachavu. And he said, peace to the servant, to your servant, to your father. To your servant, our father, your servant, our father as well is and he is, and our father is, he's still living. And he commanded. And they bowed, and they bowed down. Like it emphasizes the bowing down, so they like bow down twice. Hold on, so it's almost 4:20. So I'm going to take my dab real quick. So I'm going to put something on and give myself a tiny bit of a break. Let's see what I can find.
Joseph, our ancestor, is sitting in prison in Egypt. Having been sold into slavery, he's sitting and he's waiting. 12 years Joseph waited in prison, alone and perhaps forgotten. But now in Parshat Miqetz, change begins to take place with great immediacy. Joseph, we read today, will emerge from the depths. He will interpret Pharaoh's dreams and ascend to power. This will give him the wherewithal to support his family, who will move to Egypt to avoid death by famine. This family will thrive, but we, the readers, know that they will soon also suffer. A new Pharaoh will arise over Egypt, and they will be thrust into hundreds of years of enslavement and brutality and human suffering. Here we stand, though, today, at the cusp of a great and terrible unfolding in our national story. The impending darkness is so deep that it will take hundreds of years for our people to escape. Vayihi Miqetz shnatayim yamim. It was after 2 years' time that Pharaoh dreamed that he was. Impending darkness is so deep that it will take hundreds of years for our people to escape. Vayihi Miqetz shnatayim yamim. It was after 2 years' time that Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile. This is a strange way to begin a Torah portion of such great significance and consequence. Miqetz, Vayihi Miqetz Shnatayim Yamim. It was at the end of 2 years' time. V'cholashon Ketz Sofu, the rabbis tell us. The language of Ketz, from Miqetz, always points to an ending. Why is our chapter, this chapter of great consequence, beginning with these words? Why are
Maybe
we
it's
starting this
the end of
journey
Joseph's old
of
life.
descent by talking about the end? Well, in the surface read of the text, it's really just a small detail. It was at the end of 2 long years since Joseph had interpreted the dreams of the cupbearer. It's terrifying to think that Joseph's last best shot at freedom had been more than 2 years earlier. Every night in that prison must have been a living hell for him. But I wonder why we really need that detail, that it was at the end of 2 years' time since the cupbearer's dream was interpreted. Does it really matter that it was Miqetz Shnatayim to Yamim, that it was at the end of those 2 years? It doesn't really matter. It was a long, dark, and painful time for Joseph, a time of isolation, a time of terror. That's all we really need to know. It's not hard to see this as a strange, superfluous detail, which perhaps we only notice because the Torah portion itself becomes named after that one unnecessary detail, Miqetz. And yet, that is how this chapter of our national story begins. And we have to wonder why. I believe that it is a signal, a sign, a hint. But a hint of what? Now, to solve this riddle, we have to take a step back. We have to recall that this family, our ancestors, held a great multi-generational secret. Abraham had been warned by God generations earlier. God said to Avram, "Know well that your offspring will be strangers in a land that's not their own. They will be enslaved and oppressed for hundreds of years." Imagine the burden that Abraham...
You know, the funny thing is, so he presents that to Abraham. Abraham's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to deal with that. And by the time you get to the deal at Sinai, they've already gone through all this hell that it's like, okay, well, we went through it. What's the point in giving up now? It'll all have been for nothing. If you think about it.
No, absolutely.
Also, there's something kind of interesting. So you move. So notice this. During the time of the patriarchs, they called God El, or Elohim, primarily. And in the time after the patriarchs, from the Exodus onward, at least narrative-wise, they call him Yahweh. And it's kind of interesting because it's almost like you have two different, two different sides of the coin, the father and the son. Or rather, the fathers and the children.
No, I can definitely see those parallels there.
Let's see. Right here.
Was forced to hold, knowing a secret like that, knowing that before you and your family is unavoidable pain, so much anguish. This secret was quietly passed down from one generation to the next. The future is grim.
It's kind of funny.
Unimaginable.
Usually family secrets are about the past. This one was about the future.
Yeah, we're doomed sooner or later. If it's not me, it's going to be you, Tag.
Yeah, it's like, so son, we have a generational curse. And we don't know, it's a ticking time bomb. We don't know when it's going to happen. But when it does, you're going to be stuck in Egypt and there's nothing you can do about it. So hopefully I'll be dead by then. Bye. I really feel like that's probably what they were. Imagine that. That would be, imagine actually knowing that. That would be a hard burden to carry. Almost imagine, it's not necessarily comparable. In some ways it is, because you do have the story of, Jewish babies being killed on the orders of Pharaoh. But basically, if you think about it, Imagine the equivalent would be like knowing that the Holocaust was going to happen, like basically Cassandra syndrome. You know that's going to happen and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah, no, that I was going to say that's one that I get that feeling far too often than I would like.
Same.
'Cause things get out of your control, and all you can do is just you're a spectator.
Yeah. I heard your category.
Suffering lies before you. Abraham passed this terrible secret to Isaac. Isaac passed it on to Jacob. At this point in our narrative, we, the reader, know the secret that Jacob's own children will not learn for many, many years to come. Because it's only when Jacob is very close to death that he feels a kind of anguished sense of urgency to transmit this message to his children. He wants to prepare their hearts for the dark days ahead, to warn them that they are poised at the edge of a very painful abyss. But at that point, when Jacob tries to share the news, something goes wrong. Either he can't speak the words or his children can't hear it.
You know, I wonder.
And Jacob dies.
Did he ever say?
After having shared the.
Did he ever say or know that it was Egypt where they were going to be in prison? Because if that was the case, he probably should have been like, "Hey, you know, I know it seems really good in Egypt, but there's this other continent on the other side of the sea, and if we keep going there, we'll find it there, and it's lush and it's fertile, and there's people there." And oh wait, sorry, that's Mormonism.
Funny.
No, but I mean, actually imagine that. Imagine if they are like, you know what, Egypt, not a good place. Let's find somewhere else. And then imagine they just sail and they end up, you know, like the theory that I'm completely joking though. I mean, like, I think it's possible the Phoenicians could have reached America. I mean, there's been like a model of the Phoenician ship that actually was able to sail all the way to the Americas from, I think, somewhere in Spain. And it was like completely remade according to what would have been available at the time. So it was possible. The question is, if it was possible, then did it happen? So it's like, you know, two different things. But then anyway, I mean, story for another time. But the point remains, imagine if they would have known it was Egypt, either is the idea that if they would have tried to go somewhere else, that they would have just like, you know, it's kind of like a prophecy you can't escape. But like, oh, you know, you might end up there, but then, you know, maybe that the place that you end up going to ends up deciding, hey, we don't like you here. And then they end up selling you into slavery. And then you end up sold into slavery into Egypt, despite all the efforts that you tried to avoid it. So maybe it's like one of those things where it's not necessarily like how you get imprisoned isn't necessarily determined, but the fact that you will be is. And that's, I don't know, I think that's kind of dark. Because it, you know, it kind of sets up this idea of God as this like domineering, or like someone who like, I get that there's this idea of that, you know, there's learning in pain, but at the same time, there's also learning and being able to experience things. And again, like, I feel like not all, I don't know, it's just one of those things where like the idea of like the merciful mother versus like the harsh father, you know, especially within like theology, I've always, and again, it's not as simple because you also have the opposite where you have like domineering mothers and kind fathers. It all depends on the context, but I've always just found it odd that like, you know what it is? It's almost like, so you have the bitterness, the bitter side, the harsh side, but then it's like it's sweetened with the mercy and, you know, all this like the mercy of God, the, you know, the goodness of God, when like, you know, it's two sides of the same coin. It's like the right and the left hand of God.
No, agreed.
Prophecy with only one of his children, with Joseph. Joseph receives the sacred transmission. Our people will enter a time of impenetrable darkness, and it may last a long time. And even worse, as Chizkuni and other of our commentators hint, this dark chapter will not be only one exile, but probably many. Over the course,
you know,
this chapter will.
I forget. Have you read the book or watched the series Foundation?
Oh yeah, no, I read the series back way back in the day.
This kind of reminds me of like the idea of the crisis, the impending crisis. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no,
Yeah.
that's a good parallel.
not be only one.
I finished the second season of Foundation tonight, and I'm not going to spoil it, but damn, I'm like, it was both maybe one of my favorite and my least favorite episodes because I didn't like how they ended it, but it was also really well done.
Exile, but probably many over the course of a long and tortured history. That is a very heavy familial burden for our ancestors to bear.
Talk about familial
Except
trauma.
that the prophecy does not end in darkness. It never does.
Sorry, generational.
In chapter 48 of the book of Genesis, we learn that God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your ancestors. Joseph understands that before us is great suffering, but our story does not end in heartache. Ours is not a narrative of humiliation and pain and endless
What about
suffering.
Moses?
Ours is a narrative of the promise of redemption. As time goes on and the family gets closer and closer to this edge of the abyss, that message becomes less of a subtle hint and more of a shout into the night. Listen to Joseph on his own deathbed years later. He says to his brothers, I'm about to die, but God will remember you one day and bring you up out of this land to the land that was sworn to our ancestors. And when God remembers you, bring my bones up as well. Things are about to get really bad, Joseph warns his family. We are on the verge of a deep and profound darkness. But you have to remember, he says, even in the darkest days, that the suffering will not last forever. This will not be the end of our story. Pay attention. The text is crying out to us, not only to the immediate, but to the greater narrative arc, not only to the present, but also to the end of this story. It's hard to tell people who are standing on the cusp of great darkness, and all the more so hard to tell people who are living in the muck of that darkness, that there is a better future, that they must hold hope. It's hard to look at a landscape of immense human suffering and affirm a generous, redemptive future. And yet, the generational transmission of hope, we know, is the most audacious and profound expression of spiritual resistance in a broken and cruel world.
You know what's wild? You know what the word for hope in Hebrew is?
No.
Well, do you know what the anthem of the state of Israel is?
No.
Okay, I mean, it's just because it's basically that word with a "the" before it. But the word for hope in Hebrew is tikva.
Okay.
But what's interesting is, hope. Well, what does hope mean in English? It means hope. You're hoping for something, but it's like, what does it mean? And what I find so fascinating is that if you look at the Hebrew word for it, it's actually from a different word. Let's see if I can find it. Kaveh. Kaveh, to wait for. To be strong, strength, also strand of rope. To endure, remain, await. Threads, spider threads, those waiting for. Wait or look eagerly. Ship shall gather, wait, linger, line. Let's see next. Kav, might. Mikveh, hope. Tikva. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Tikva can be both hope and cord, but mikveh is hope, and tikva is hope, with hope of deliverance, things hoped for. So that which you hope and wait for. Basically, you can't separate the two. You can't. It's not hope if you don't have to wait.
Yeah, I was going to say, who would have thought that message would go over poorly? Yes, we're all going to get enslaved. This is a good thing. Let's go get in. It'll be good in the long run. Yeah, no, not in your lifetime. Yeah, no, not your kids. Hundreds of years from now, it's a good thing. Let's go get enslaved.
That's like, have hope. Have hope is literally have patience.
Yeah, who would have thought that people would have sat there and flinched at that idea? It's like us being enslaved is good, huh?
It's like between this and the circumcision. I don't think I read the fine print when I incarnated into this body.
Well, I was going to say the contract with Yahweh, that Abraham made. It's like, did Abe really look at all this fine print here?
It's like chosen people. I don't know if I want to be chosen for this.
Exactly. Yeah. What was I chosen for? And can I get a second pick?
Let's see. Vayisaenav vayara et Binyamin acheyav benimo vayomer hazeh achichem hakaton asher amartem elai vayomer Elohim yachnecha beni. And he lifted up his eyes to Benjamin, his brother, the son of his mother, and he said, "This is your youngest brother that you told me to me, and said Elohim yechanecha beni." And he said, "May Elohim yechanecha be kind or be gracious, show favor to you." Beni, he says, my interesting. Beni, it's not. Wait, Beni, yeah, no, this would be Beni. Beni. Interesting. He's calling him my boy or my son. I wonder if there's. Let's see, commentary. God be gracious unto thee. Yochnecha does not fit any paradigm. Perhaps it differs. Let's see. Elohim be gracious unto you, my son. With regard to the other sons of Jacob, we have heard the expression grace used the children whom God hath. Okay, but Benjamin had not then been born, and therefore was not included amongst the children of whom Joseph used the term. On this account, Joseph used the term grace in blessing him. Hanan Yechanacha. Elohim be gracious, since you are the only remaining son of your mother, as the brothers had told him. May Hashem give you grace so that your brothers will feel affection towards you. When he saw Benjamin, brother by his mother, Benjamin's features reminded him of the looks of his mother sufficiently to recognize him by the resemblance. Benjamin had only been 6 to 7 when Joseph had been sold. What? That doesn't make sense. But he would have known that there was another brother then. This is confusing. Any thoughts?
Just that I agree with you. It's confusing. The commentary seems to contradict itself.
Yeah. Vayimaher Yosef ki nichmeru rachamav elachaya vayivakesh libkot vayavo hachadra vayevcha shama yevach shama. And Joseph hurried because he was nichmeru, he was kindle kamar, he was tender, he was agitated, rachamav, with mercy, or like with kindness towards his brother. Wait, achiv, not achayav. So his brother, vayivakesh, and he sought livchot vayavo, and he sought to cry, and he was seeking to cry, and he came chadra, he came to the room or the hall, vayavech shama, and he wept there. Vayirchatz pana vayetze vayitapag vayomer simu lachem. And he washed his face, and he went out, vayita'apak, and he restrained himself, and he said, place, or like serve simu, like put out, or set the meal, or lachem. Interesting that lachem can mean meal. Where does it have another meaning here? Lachem, bread. What? It can mean honey? It can mean goat's milk? I guess it's completely dependent on context then. That's fascinating. Food offered to mourners. Lechem. Wait, what was this? Lechem anashim. Shalach lachmacha al panei hamayim. Al pnei hamayim. Wait, what? That's from Ecclesiastes. I'm going to open this up in a new tab real quick. Oh. Wait. Al pnei hamayim? Send your bread forth upon the waters, for after days you'll find it. Is interesting. Don't worry about. Interesting. Don't revile a king even amongst your intimates. Don't revile a rich man in your bedchamber. For a bird of the air may carry the utterance, and a winged creature may report the word. Send your bread forth upon the waters, for many days you will find it. Interesting. Wait, many days? Hold on. Ki berov hayamim, mayim rabim. Yamim, mayim, yamim. No, mayim's already used. Never mind. Yum. Wait, berov hayamim. I wonder. Yamai? I forget how yamim. I'm pretty sure yamim also means seas, so it could be the greatness of this. I don't know. I want to read that a certain way, so I might be a little bit biased, but let's see. Where are we? All right. Vayasimu lo levado velahem לבדם ולמצרים האוכלים איתו לדבם כי לא יוכלון המצרים לאוכל את העברים לחם כי תועבה היא למצרים. And he placed it by itself. They served him by themselves, and they served him by himself and them by themselves. And to the Egyptians that ate with them by themselves, because they did not allow the Egyptians were not allowed to eat with the Hebrews bread, because it was a toeva, it was an abomination or abhorrent, because this was abhorrent to the Egyptians. Interesting. I wonder if some of these practices end up getting mirrored later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you can't eat with them, but you can't eat the same food. Whereas here, you can eat the same food, you just can't eat it with them. So it's almost like they have an Egyptian's table, and they have a Joseph table, and then they have a Israelite table. For something detestable to Egyptians, Egyptians detested eating at the same table as aliens, as they felt that they were a superior race and everyone else was way inferior. We have an example of this in Isaiah 37, as well as in verse 39 here. V'mitzrayim hevel varik, and Egypt is vain and wasteful, vain and empty. Vayizra. Is vain and empty. Yizru'u lachan. Their help, I call this Rahab Lashevet.
I don't know. It's the help of Egypt I call empty and vain. I call this a disgrace and chagrin to dwell among them. Interesting. Wait, I'm confused. Oh, empty and vain. I feel like I'm missing something. Rahav Shevet. I don't know. Like it almost seems like it's saying that from an Israelite perspective. And the brothers separately and the Egyptians separately. For the Hebrews were eating meat, and we know from the instructions to slaughter meat, which had been issued in verse 15, Egyptians did not eat sheep or goats, and the only reason they raised these animals was for their wool and their milk. Interesting. It's kind of like in India. The reason, well, except with cows, the reason why the Egyptians did not eat sheep was that they considered sheep a deity, and it was inconceivable for them to consume their deities. Fascinating. I mean, I knew that. Oh shoot! No, I just lost it.
Yeah, Hathor's a cow, and they eat cows.
What's this paper tiger? Um. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Oh, here it says they served him separately as a symbol of his exalted position. Maybe it's saying like as opposed to the rest of the Egyptians. Let's see. Let's see. וישבו לפניו הבכור כבכורתו והצעיר כצעירתו ויטמעו האנשים ישרהו. And they sat before him, before the oldest, like his birthright, and the youth, like his youth right, I guess you could say, or like his youth, youthity. It's not a word, but I don't know, like his youngness, his youth. Vayitmehu and Tama, and they were astounded or like stunned. The men were stunned. Ish el rehuhu, they like a man to his fellow. Vayisa masot met panav alehem vaterev masat Binyamin mimasat kulam chamesh yadot vayishtu vayishkeru imo. And vayisa misaat, and they lifted up or carried misaat, carried from up, carried up from on. I don't know. Misaat, and they carried their portions, I guess. Their portions, a little to his face, alehem, before him. Vaterev and Tarav Misaad Binyamin, and an increase, and Benjamin's portion was increased, mimesota kulam, more than all the rest, much more than anyone else. Literally 5 times. Mimesaot kulam. Oh, chamesh yadot. Five times. That's where they get it from. 5 times as much as anyone else's. Vayishtu, and they drank. Vayishkeru, and they vayishkaru, and shikur. Interesting. In Hebrew, shakur means like it has to do with drunkenness. I don't know what it means in Arabic, but imagine Tupac Shakur in Israel would be like Tupac Shakar. But they drank and they became drunk, even though these are two different words. So vayishtu, and they drank, vayishkaru, and they became intoxicated, or they became drunk. Imo, with him. All right, so let's see, and it goes until 17. So we'll read a little catch up. Actually, need a tiny break to give my throat a break. I'll put the video back on. But any thoughts on me, Tim?
Nope, not a whole lot. Just following along.
Of course, this is precisely how God frames the message of unavoidable hardship to Avraham in the first place. God said back in chapter 15, know that your offsprings will be strangers in a strange land for hundreds of years. They will be enslaved and oppressed, but I will execute judgment on the nation that enslaves them, and in the end, they will go free with great wealth.
I'm sorry, but this doesn't feel fair for anyone involved. You know what I mean?
Well, since when is God fair? I don't remember that being in the contract.
Well, if God isn't fair, or if fair isn't something that's important to God, why did he make it important to us?
Well, it's more like, why did he make us where fairness is important to us?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like it reminds me from A Serious Man. If God's not going to give us the answers, why does he or if God's not going to give us the answers, why does he make us ask the questions?
I was going to say that's an easy answer, so we can learn. If he told us the answers, we wouldn't be learning.
Yeah, your cat agrees.
Yeah.
What's your cat's name?
Babbitt.
Sorry, what?
Babbitt.
Babbitt?
Yeah.
That's a wait, male or female?
Male.
I don't have the cultural background to get the reference. It's probably before my time.
It's based off of John Updike with Run Rabbit Run, or he wrote a Babbitt series, and it's it's basically it's like Rabbit only with a B.
Oh, funny.
And it was a literature author from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
Okay.
So before my time.
Yeah.
In other words, not only will your children suffer terribly, but they will eventually be redeemed by God's own hand. There will be an end to the heartache.
Wait, God has a hand?
Future is
Does that mean he has a head too?
I say this to us
and
today
two arms
because
and
I
two
believe
legs?
that being a covenantal
Well, we all know
Jew,
about the schlongs.
being a part of this long, ancient, often painful story requires us to hold both the pain and the heartache and the suffering, and also the promise that the seemingly impossible is absolutely possible. To be in a covenantal relationship with God means to live both in the terrible now and also in the luminous future. It's so hard. It's so hard in the darkest times to hold both of these truths. I understand in my core why people distance themselves from our pain or fail to hold faith in the promise of a better future, even arguing that speaking of the promise of a better future is an act of betrayal, because it's so hard to hold both of these realities, maybe too hard to bear. But I wonder if that's why the seemingly superfluous word Miqetz begins our parsha. And this supremely significant chapter in Joseph's journey, his aliyah letzarech yeridah, his ascent to power in Pharaoh's court that will only lead to our people's descent into slavery. Because even as we find his aliyah and this supremely significant chapter in Joseph's journey, his aliyah letzarech yirida, his ascent to power in Pharaoh's court that will only lead, and this supremely significant chapter in Joseph's journey, his aliyah letzarech yirida, his ascent to power in Pharaoh's court that will only lead to our people's descent into slavery.
She's saying that you shouldn't
Because
get involved
even
in
as we find
politics.
ourselves in dark and desperate places, we must remember to plant
No, I think they're
temperate
saying
seeds
that
of
it's all
hope.
Joseph's fault they
We
got
must
enslaved.
remember that our story does not end there. Our trajectory is ultimately the reverse. Yirida letzorech aliyah, descent in the service of ultimate redemption. I know that even articulating a vision for the future can feel empty and meaningless in these dark days, disconnected from reality. It may even feel dangerous, like some kind of impossible fantasy, but the greater danger is
I
not
was
to
going to say, if you
dream
want to
at
pause
all
for a second,
and to live instead in the despairing present.
the sentiment that she's saying, if taken too far, you end up in like Aleister Crowley land, where you need to intentionally be perverse. It's not that God is leading you there; it's you need to do it intentionally, and that's a mistake. It's like it's one
How
thing
are
for
you?
God to do it.
How are you getting that from that?
Well, it's the idea of suffering and suffering hard times and bad stuff in order to have something good later.
I don't think it's necessarily that. Like, for instance, I mean, like,
Well, what I'm saying is Crowley and such, they took that principle and misapplied it to get to where they were going.
for instance, there's this idea in Orthodox Judaism that even if you eat like all this unkosher food, like bacon and cheeseburgers and stuff, that if ultimately in your path you end up becoming more religious and you end up starting to keep kosher, then basically all that unkosher food that you ate, it doesn't become kosher, but it becomes holy.
Yeah, I know, and the problem is, like I said, Crowley and those people, the antinomians, they take the next step, and they say basically, in order to bring good into the world, we have to do evil.
Yeah, that's a misstep. Basically,
Yeah.
what this is saying is that if if you and which and again, it's not talking about moral failures; it's more so like ritual ones. But basically, all the impurity that you do, if ultimately and only ultimately, if you end up becoming holy, because I mean, like for instance, view like the people who end up becoming religious because they end up in jail and they legitimately end up turning their lives around. They only became that way because of the hardships they went through.
Yeah, but in that case, it's redemption because they didn't do the hardships in order to get the good things. And that's part of the point of sacrifice is you're giving up the good things, in the short term in order to get it in the long run. And it's one thing if it's sacrifice where you're giving up good things. It's another thing if you're doing active evil in order to get good things in the long run. I'm just noting that it's basically it's the same principle but misinterpreting it.
Yeah, again, I think it's important to look at what I'm talking about within the context of ritual purity, not moral.
Right.
Which I guess there was a time where you couldn't really separate the two. So,
Well, it's the thing is ritual purity is much easier to judge because it's like a checklist. You can tell if the guy does the rituals right.
it's not about what's in their heart.
Right. You just sort of you can trust that they're going to do the rituals because they always have. It doesn't care if they believe in the rituals or not. Tag.
It's also kind of interesting because something I was talking about with someone was like this idea of like thinking versus believing. Imagine because there's things that I believe that I don't necessarily think, and things that I think that I don't necessarily believe. If that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's one of those where I realize that, between my autism and the way I was raised, I don't believe like other people do. because it's like I require that factual check. It's like I can't believe something that's contrary to my known facts. I can believe something that, is like an extension of them, but it can't, it's like I can't believe 2 + 2 = 4. I mean, I can do 2 + 2 = 4, but I can't do 5 or 3.
Okay, so maybe belief isn't the best word, but faith, like kind of a mix between belief and hope. It's a hope, like something that you aren't really sure of, but you want it to happen. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, faith is a good word for that one. Yeah, faith is a lot better than belief. People throw belief around like you're accepting this statement is true regardless of the facts behind it or lack of facts.
It's interesting because the word aman means to like affirm, whereas there's also what is it? One second, what's the word? Emunah is faith, which basically means to affirm something, versus like this idea of belief within this idea of like, see, and that's the thing, like, it's not necessarily something that you believe in your core of core, but you're affirming it. Whether or not that's like something that I don't know. I think it's interesting because so much of the way that we perceive belief and faith is just so based within cultural context that it's kind of an issue when we try to appropriate or try to apply our own understandings onto the past without understanding the difference.
Oh, definitely. Trying to project modern sensibilities into the past is one of the worst mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the other layer, you have 2 of the 3 layers that I noticed working. You have your belief, you have thinking, and the other one is feeling, which is kind of underneath thinking. And it's like feeling is internal, thinking is sort of like mental and abstract, and then believing is like external. It's how you relate to the rest of the world. It's sort of how I've reduced it for myself. Hey.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Definitely. I think that's spot on.
That is a kind of death in its own right, for it leads only to nihilism. Remember, Joseph sat in prison for 12 long years of incredible mental anguish. And then, out of nowhere, at the beginning of this parasha, history shifts and a man has a dream, and Joseph's story unfolds in rapid bursts of urgency. Hine, 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 hine. 6 times this word is repeated in the first 7 verses of our Torah portion. Behold, behold, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, pay attention, wake up. In other words, you have no idea what tomorrow might bring. And so we plant the seeds, even in the depth of winter, for a harvest that we pray we will one day be able to see. We cast our gaze forward to an impossible future, even from the depths of immeasurable heartache, because that future will come only when we dream it. Do you know who understands this, Torah? Rachel Goldberg, Hirsch Goldberg Poland's mother, one of the 132 who remain in captivity. Rachel has become not only a...
So for anyone who doesn't know, Hirsch Goldberg, he was at the music festival, the Nova Music Festival, and he took shelter with some other people, and they were hiding in, I forget, it was like some sort of building. I don't know if it was like a shack or whatever, but actually, wait, I forget if it was, I might be wrong. It might not have been the music festival. It was either that or a kibbutz, but in any case, they were taking shelter. Yeah, the fact that they were taking shelter, I think it was at one of the kibbutzim near Gaza, but basically he took cover with a bunch of other people, and they managed to keep the what was it? I don't remember the exact, but basically, what I do remember, again, I have a terrible memory. This isn't anything to do with the story. It's not like there's inconclusive shit. Like, I just have a terrible memory. But basically, that the Hamas terrorists kept throwing in grenades, and Hirsch kept catching the grenades and trying to throw them out. And I guess eventually, he wasn't able to anymore, or No. What it was is I think there were. Shoot, yeah. I'm basically what one of his arms ended up getting blown off, and he was captured. Luckily, he's still alive, at least last that we know. But like he's a real hero. I mean, if it wasn't for what he did, more people would have died. I mean, given, it's not like he would have been able to save so much more, but there's this idea in Judaism, and it's even repeated in Islam, but it's something that's ascribed as something that was given to the Bani Israel, is that one who saves a life, it's like he saves an entire world, and one who takes a life, it's like he takes an entire world. So like there's just something that, I mean, I feel like it's important to take hope and to take to realize and to remember those little things, because at the end of the day, that that seemingly little thing was everything that he could do in that moment. And now he's irrevocably changed. I mean, given if he hadn't done that, he probably wouldn't be alive, but the point remains.
Fierce advocate for her son's return and the return of all of the captives, but she has become a prophet in our time, calling us from the depths of our collective heartache to imagine a different kind of future. Hear this. This is not a future of victory or vanquishing the enemy. This is a just and shared future, a future in which we affirm one another's humanity and our own, in which together we move from darkness to light, from anguish to celebration, from enemy to neighbor, perhaps even to friend. Rachel wrote this poem this week called One Tiny Seed. There is a lullaby that says your mother will cry 1,000 tears before you grow to be a man. I have cried 1,000,000 tears in the last 67 days. We all have. And I know that way over there's another woman who looks just like me, because we are all so very similar. And she has also been crying. All of those tears, a sea of tears, they all taste the same. Can we take them? Can we gather them up, remove the salt, and pour them over our desert of despair and plant one tiny seed? A seed wrapped in fear, trauma, pain, war, and hope, and see what grows? Could it be that this woman, so very like me, that she and I could be sitting together in 50 years, laughing without teeth because we have drunk so much sweet tea together? And now we are so very old, and our faces are creased like worn out brown paper bags. And our sons have their own grandchildren, and our sons have long lives, one of them without an arm. But who needs 2 arms anyway? Is it all a dream, a fantasy, a prophecy? One tiny seed. Listen, for many Jews and for most Israelis who I have spoken with, every day is October 7th. Every day. Our family is still in deep shock. We are still reeling from the anguish and the horror of the atrocities that have been committed against us. We are completely captivated by the captives, by the toxic discourse, by the ongoing threat to our safety. It's hard. It's almost unimaginably hard to speak about a hopeful future, any hopeful future, 2 states, a confederation, a shared future, a just future, anything that would be markedly different from the past, that would create the conditions for a just peace to flourish. Speak about a hopeful future, any hopeful future, 2 states, a confederation, a shared future, a just future, anything that would be markedly different
the Confederation
from the past,
likely,
that would create the conditions for a just peace to flourish. And yet there is no way that we will survive the deep and dark present without articulating a just future, even when we're not yet ready to hear it. And so we must stand now on the side of those insisting on finding another way, building a new language, making a way out of no way. There is no way forward that is not the way of standing together, of the bereaved families, of combatants for peace, of those heroes, Jewish and Palestinian, who we cite and amplify and lift up here week after week after week. There is no way forward that does not include justice for Jews and for Palestinians, that does not include Jews and Palestinians seeing one another as human beings, as parents and children and sisters and brothers, people with beautiful, broken hearts, with a deep, irrepressible yearning for home, with dreams of self-determination, with a sacred hunger for security, for safety, and for dignity. Friends, if Rachel Goldberg, now 10 unimaginable weeks into her son's captivity, can call us to imagine a redemptive future, how can we not? Let us imagine a different end to this story than the endless cycle of victimhood and villainy, violence and recrimination, entrenchment and evasion. Come, each one of us, let us plant one tiny seed. Shabbat Shalom.
Wow. That was powerful. I mean, holy crap, that really stuck with me. So let's finish this up. ויצא ותשאר על ביתו לאומר מלא תמתחות האנשים אוכל כאשר יאכלון שצת ושים כסף איש בפיהם תחתו. And he commanded that to his house. He instructed his house, saying, fill the amtachot, the bags of the men with food and with as you are able, as much as they're able to lift or carry, and place kesef, place silver in up to the mouth of the knapsack of his knapsack, like each man's knapsack, or not knapsack but backpack. ואת גביע הכסף תשים בפי תחת הקטון ואת כסף שברו ויעש כי דבר יוסף אשר דיבר. And gvia and his and my cup gavia hakesef, and my goblet, the goblet of silver, tashsim, place it in the mouth of the his knapsack, the hakatan, of the smallest knapsack, or of the pack of the smallest one, and silver shibru veyas, and fill it put it with his shivru, with his wheat, and veyas, and he did kidavar Yosef, he did as the command of Joseph. He did the command of Joseph as he was commanded, or he did just as Joseph told him. הבוקר אור והנשים שולחו המה וחמוריהם. הבוקר, at the break of dawn. First light is the break of dawn, right?
Right.
Okay, so at the, well, it's not literally the break of dawn, but at like at the morning light, the men sholchu hema, the men were sent from there, or sent hema, were sent with abundance, were sent off with their abundance and their animals. I wonder if there's any translation of Hema. What do they have for Hema? It was already bright daylight, and when the men had been sent off, even though most of the people. Okay, let's see. Hema. boker, or the word or is a verb in the active mode of the passive conjunction. So the morning has lit up. The lighting of morning. Okay. There's hamori boker, or see for yourself how my eyes have lit up to the tents of Jewish people. Okay. Nothing. All right, let's see. הם יצאו את העיר לא הרחיקו, ויוסף אמר לאשר על ביתו קום רדוף אחרי אנשים והשגתם ואמרת עליהם למה שילמתם רעתך טובה. They set out from the city, and they did not get far. When and Joseph said, so as to his house, get up and pursue after the men. Vehistam, and they overreached or overtook. Nasag, interesting. They overtook them. Ve'amarta, and he said to them, and he said, to them, why, and he said to them, why shilmetem? Why shalom? Why shalom? Why did you why did you fulfill or repay ra'a tachat tova, evil in place of good? So this is kind of interesting. It says they went out. They had just left the city and not gotten far when Joseph said to his house, go and pursue after the men, and vihiskatam, and when you overreach. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Not and when they overreach, and when that makes sense. Say to them, הלא זה אשר ישתה אדוני בו והוא נחש בו הראותם אשר עשיתם. Why did why if not this, why that yishte. This is the very this is the very one Ishta Adoni, my master drinks from, and he nachash yenachash. Interesting, and which he divine, and which he divines to divine, or which he divines to fortune tell. I don't know. It's like what it's like which he I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like which he diligently observes to practice divination. Well, we'll say that. In it, hareotem, it was evil what you that which you did. Any thoughts on the fact that there's this divination going on?
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Is I guess divination hasn't been prohibited yet at this point.
Yeah. Also, he uses it to divine by means of it, which is why he left it on the table and acted as if he had forgotten it, in order to test and find out if you would steal it. Interesting. That's fascination. The divination was just a loyalty test.
Yeah, interesting. Divining the person's character. Yep.
Let's see. Um, let's see. Means that you should have realized that Joseph would inquire from the diviners what had happened to his goblet. A man of his stature has many diviners at his beck and call, and would find out rather quickly who had taken it. Lavan saying to Jacob, I have found out that I have been blessed through your presence by having resorted to divination. In this instance, the reverse was true. Joseph claimed that it was seen as a bad omen for him to have lost such a precious goblet. The word should not be explained as Joseph having used magic, as this would not be befitting for a man of his stature. So there's the answer to your question. At least retroactively saying that. Let's see. The owner would employ his supernatural powers immediately in order to divine where it was presently. He had demonstrated already that he possessed such powers. Alternatively, he would instruct others to use their powers of divination to locate his goblet for him. Interesting.
Well, whatever happened to when in Egypt, doeth Egypt?
No, that's Rome. They hadn't invented that saying yet.
Oh, okay. It was before that time.
Yeah. And whereby he indeed divineth. He used this cup to test to see if you are thieves. Oh, he's nachesh. Oh, divineth. Nachash, you have observed the signs. I will indeed divine. Interesting. I wonder if divine also has a concept of divvy, or to like divide, to determine good or bad, almost. Is this not the let's see. To divine the future, it was clear that the reason the brothers stole the goblet was to deprive Joseph of the knowledge the goblet would provide. Wait, what? There was no need to mention that the speaker was the man who had deposited the goblet in the pouch of Benjamin. Neither was there a need to inform the reader that he spoke about the goblet. He merely wanted to explain why the theft of this goblet had been discovered immediately. The reason was that Joseph drank from the goblet all the time. The adjutant added that his master used this goblet to divine the future. It was clear then that the reason the brothers stole the goblet was to deprive Joseph of the future the goblet would provide. The adjutant had no reason to suspect anyone else of the theft of this goblet. He repeated the word nachash and nachash both in the past and in the future to support his suspicion by reminding the brothers that they had already observed his master use the goblet to reveal the past. How? He divined at that time already that doesn't. How?
My guess is he was using it as a scrying bowl sort of thing, scrying in the water in it.
Yeah, but it says that he did it already, like in front of them.
Yeah, I'm interpreting that they think that something happened and that he did that.
All right, let's see.
But I suppose the saying, what happens in Egypt stays in Egypt, doesn't count either.
Let's see. We have to assume that Joseph pretended to get his information about the brothers' personal data by consulting his goblet. Perhaps a magic formula was hidden within the goblet. Some commentators say that a wise man of Joseph's caliber would consult the goblet as to who had stolen it, seeing that the Torah quotes Joseph as saying about Ish Asher Kamoni, a man of my type. He had, after all, proven that he could see hidden things, hence his name, Safnat Paneach, in which it does not say in the text, Ye Nachesh Bo, which would suggest that he had consulted the goblet, but Nachesh and Nachesh, independent of the inherent power of the goblet to reveal things to its owner. Let's see. All right. Okay, is there anything else? Why would any of them be interested in stealing either silver or gold from the house of the pursuer's master? But he did. He did not mention the word goblet to them, but he described the situation as if they understood that they had collectively interesting, even though nobody stole it. Okay. So this is why I named it by hook or by crook. They kept Simeon by hook and then Benjamin by crook. All right, so Vayasigem vayidaber alehem et hadavarim haele vayiskam, and he overreached them, and he said to them these things, and they said to him, "Why do you say, my lord? Why did my lord say these things? Khalila, like forbid it, or God forbid it, or far be it, le'avdecha, that your servant,
that your servants Masot would do kadvar hazeh, such a thing. Hen kesef asher matzanu befi amtechotenu hashivon hashivonu alecha meretz Kenan vech nignov mivet adonecha kesef uzahav. They are silver. These silver that we found in the mouth of your these silver that matzanu that we found in the mouth of our packs heshivonu. We returned it to you from the land of Canaan. And how would we steal from that house of our Lord silver or gold? Asher yimatze ito me'avadecha v'amet v'gam hanachnu nihye le'adoni le'avadim. As you found, as was found with him, as he was found with it, me'avdecha, from our servants, vamet, he will die, and also we will be to your servants, to your master. We will become slaves to your master. The rest of holy crap, dude. You see what's going on here?
Yeah, nice catch.
So basically, this is saying that, oops, they accidentally pledged themselves into slavery.
Gotta read that fine print.
Whoever of the servants will be found. Let's see. They were certain that none of them had stolen, that they could safely make such a testament as decreeing death on the thief, as if he were one of them. However, afterwards, when the goblet had been discovered in the travel bag of Benjamin, they no longer mentioned the death penalty, but offered themselves collectively as slaves to Joseph. And Joseph's the vizier, in charge of building things, probably. So,
Lots of bricks to be made.
oof. Let's see. Oh, well, this is dark. Whichever of your servants it will be found with shall die. Gentiles are subject to the death penalty for theft. Sanhedrin 54. The brothers offered themselves as slaves in addition. So, I mean, is the implication that the death penalty is only for non-Jews when it comes to stealing? So I see that this is why I feel like some people really should not rely on tradition to be, the end all be all, because at the end of the day, I don't think that this is really going to end up affecting, modern policy. But at the same time, I feel like there is, given it's not like Judaism's special in this regard. In fact, Judaism is probably one of the least bad when it comes to views of other, non-co-religionists, which again doesn't absolve Judaism of its lesser bright sides. But anyway, let's continue. So I couldn't find any commentary on that part, though. It's interesting, though. Vayomer kamata kedivrechem ken hu asher yimatze ito yihye liaved ve'atem tihiyu nekim. And he said also, now their words that he found with him, that there was a slave servant, and you will be Nakim free. I don't know. He replied, although that you are proposing, whatever you're proposing is right, only the one with whom it is found shall be my slave, but the rest of you shall go free. Interesting. So he's absolving them of it, but it's almost like they pledged it to Egypt, not just to Joseph.
Although as vizier, by pledging to Joseph, you're pretty much pledging to Egypt too.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you thought it was like the next vizier is like, oh, you thought you were pledging to Joseph? No, you were pledging to the vizier of Egypt. Sorry, bud. That's dark. Let's see. All right, so we're on all right. Vaimaharu yoridu ishet am tachto arza vaiftochu isham tachoto. And they quickly they quickly lowered. Each man quickly lowered his bag to the ground and opened them. Each man opened his bag. ויחפש בגדול החל ובקטון כי לה וימצא הגביע באמתחת בנימין. And they found in the large they searched in the large hechel. They started searching in the large and in the small. They started searching in the large and finished. They started searching at first in the large and at the end and in the small at the end, and they found Hagavia. They found the goblet in the sack of Benjamin, in the bag of Benjamin. Vayikreu simlotam Vayamos Ishal Chamoro Vayeshevu Haira. Yakar. Kara. And they tore their simlotam, their clothing, their like tunics or their dresses. Via Amos. Amas, and each man loaded his donkey, and he and returned to the city. Vayavo Yehuda v'chayav b'ta Yosef v'huodenu sham vayiplo lefanav arza. And they came, and Judah and his brothers. It's interesting that now it's saying Judah and his brothers. When Judah and his brothers came to the house of Joseph, he Odenu and Joseph, who was still there, Odenu Sham, who was still there, and he fell to his face. He fell and they fell down and with their faces to the ground. Vayomer lahem Yosef Mahamase Hazeh asher azitem halo yadatem כי נחש נינחש איש אשר כמוני. And Joseph said to them, what what is this action? What is this action that you have done? Hello, Yadatem. Did I did not know, did you not know that Nachash, that I can certainly divine, that I can divine, I can observe signs to do divination. Isha Shir Kamoni. Do you not know that? Do you not know that a man that is like me? Interesting. I wonder why it says a man that is like me. Any thoughts? Oh, because he's a dreamer. He's a prophet, basically.
Exactly, and also the authority as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah. That's Kanim, like you said. For a man of my stature, surely is able to divine things. He meant that seeing that the man was in an exalted position, he would investigate thoroughly if someone accused was indeed guilty of the crime he had been accused of. You're spot on. Let's see. Did you not know that a man such as I was able to divine things? Let's see. With this comment, Joseph wanted to answer the brothers' accusation that he had framed them, since how could he have known that they had committed the theft unless they had themselves confessed to it? Joseph headed off such an accusation by saying that someone like himself practiced sorcery. The reason, this is also from Orachem, the reason the Torah has Joseph described the sorcery as being performed not by myself, but as someone in a high position such as I, was not just such but anyone who occupied high office was presumed to be able to divine things such like that. The brothers should have taken this into consideration before stealing anything. They didn't steal anything, though. Princes and ministers, Ish Asher Kamoni. Princes and ministers were in the habit of performing magic tricks, as we know from Ezekiel 21 and 26, where the king of Babylon is described as standing at the crossroads in order to engage in this kind of divination. Joseph is saying that he knows who stole my property. That's a clear reference to Asherah worship, or at least to goddess worship, this idea of standing at the crossroads or at high places. Let's see. So, Kamoni, know ye that I can divine such a certainly divine. Are you not aware that so distinguished? Okay, yeah, more of the same. Tzafon, where is this? I thought I just saw it. Tzafnat Panea. Okay. What is this deed? Okay, looking at through knowledge. Okay, one second. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's continue. Vayomer Yehuda manohomar ladonim hanedaver umanitztahadak Vailohim matzah eton avadecha hinenu avadim leadoni גם אנחנו, גם אשר נמצא הגביע בידו. And Judah said, what are we to say to my Lord? What do we speak? Or what do we plead? That's how it translates it. Uman nitzdaka, and how can we make this nitzdaka? Sata. Wait. Interesting. Nitz. I don't know why it has tadak in it. That's so fascinating. Because it's nitz tadak, but the root is sedek, not set. It's not set dek. But that almost makes me think this might be a reference to set in some context. Because I'm going to have to look more into that later, but justify ourselves. Nitzdaka. I've never seen it in that form. Okay. And what do we do to prove our innocence before God? Or no, how do we prove our innocence? Elohim
let God find, or wait, God has found the iniquity of your servants, and he has beheld us. Or no, here we are, avadim, servants or slaves, for my Lord, and also, and this probably gets understood as my Lord being God as well as this, but we're slaves for my Lord, and also we are also those nimsa that found Hagavi, the goblet beyado, that found it in his hand. The rest of us are as much as he, and who's here we are slaves. The rest. Okay, so they're saying we all are, but I thought they just said only. Oh, no. He repeats it again. Vayomer chalila li. Vayomer chalila li. מעשות זאת האיש אשר נמצא הגביע, בידו הוא יהיה לי עבד ואתם עלו לשלום אל אביכם. And he said, far be it from me to do such a thing, or God forbid for me to do such a thing. The man that was found with a goblet in his hand, he is for me a slave, and you and the rest of you go up in peace to your father. So I'm going to see if I can find any commentary on this, but any thoughts before we close out?
No, just again, Joseph, it's he's not he didn't exactly say he didn't do it. He's saying, what, you're accusing me? Why would I do such a thing? Again, definitely his father's son there.
Interesting. So both we and the one in whose hand the goblet has been found. Why did Yehuda use the word gam also twice in the verse? This was to teach us that also those of us against whom there is no evidence or suspicion of all are prepared to remain as your master's slaves, not to mention our brother in whom the goblet has been found. The difference between what Yehuda says now and what he has said in verse 9 is that in the verse he had in verse 9 is that in that verse he had accepted the death penalty. Not what he said in verse 9 is that in that verse he had accepted the death penalty for the person in whose bag the goblet would be found, as he had been so sure that none of their bags would contain it. When the brothers saw that it had been found in Benjamin's bag, they offered themselves as slaves also, but backtracked on acknowledging that Benjamin would be sentenced to death. They hoped that their offer would save Benjamin from being convicted of the death penalty. But Joseph, because at the end of the day, Joseph needs them to go back to their dad. It's like, you take a prisoner and you let the rest go so that they can let them know, hey, we have a prisoner. There is a ted in place of the tav on the hitpalel conjunction in the word needs to clear ourselves because the first root letter is a tzade. Interesting. God has found iniquity of thy servants. They spoke of the way of thy parallel. We committed a sin, and it was, as it were, lost and forgotten. I found today on iniquity of thy servants means the punishment of thy servants, as in my iniquity is greater than I can bear. Okay. It's too much. I'm not going to try to read it all because that would be insane. Especially I need to get, oh my God, it's too much. Maybe we can look back on it later. But wait, what's this? In your return to make your peace with your offer in heaven. Menashe could have simply said, go on your way in peace, seeing that the Torah focuses on 10 brothers and the grievous wrong they had done to their brother Joseph. It is not surprising that the Torah also uses this opportunity to hint at the historical consequences of the brothers' behavior at the time. Our sages in Pesachim 50 go so to say that the acceptance of God's decree by the 10 martyrs who died a cruel death at the hands of the Romans for crime committed over 1,500 years earlier put these people into a class by themselves, one that could not be matched in piety or faith by anyone else previously. We can apply to them the verse in Isaiah 64:3, such things have never been heard nor seen. No eye has seen them, O God, but you who acts for those who trust in him, who is waiting for you, bringing back food. Oh, your father is waiting for you. It would be degrading for me. I do not wish to be the instrument of chastisement for your earlier crimes because Hashem uses the wicked for that purpose. and he shall be my slave. The word Eved should have the, let's see, is that says personal slave would be far superior to that of regular slaves. So basically, Benjamin would be a royal slave. He would basically be like what Joseph was to Potiphar and then later Pharaoh. It's interesting.
You
But
mean
anyway.
a boy toy for Joseph's wife?
Not necessarily, but I can see why you would go to that. All right, so here let's see. Baruch atah Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So here, I'm just going to put on a video for like 5 minutes or so, find something real quick. 1 moment. All right, here.
6.3 magnitude earthquake struck 40 kilometers.
This is Rabbi David Foreman, and welcome to Parshat Miqetz. This parsha gives rise to one of the greatest questions people ask about Sefer Bereshit. Why didn't Yosef write home? I mean, here he is. He's the Grand Vizier. He's in charge of all the
Were you
rest of
asking
Egypt.
that?
His fortunes have turned fantastically. If he really loves his father, why doesn't he write him a postcard? Dad, everything is fine. I'm here in Egypt, wishing you were here. Love, Joseph. Some contact. What is going on here? I want to sketch out to you a particularly fascinating answer to this question that I became aware of while reading an article in the very first issue of Miqedz, the Israeli-based Tanakh journal. This issue contained an extended debate between Rav Yaakov Meidan and Rav Yoel Ben Nun, and I'm going to sketch out to you a piece of Rabbi Ben Nun's view on this, along with some of my own additional thoughts. Rabbi Ben Nun argues that to understand the answer to this question, you have to take a careful look at the Yosef story from the perspective of Yosef himself. One of the great challenges that face us whenever we read any story in the Bible is to understand that you, the reader, may know more than any individual person actually involved in the story. When you look at the Yosef story, the question you have to ask yourself is, what do you know that Yosef doesn't know? And how does that change the story once you realize Yosef doesn't know it? If you read the story of the sale of Yosef, you become aware that there is a crucial fact that is hidden to Yosef. It's impossible for him to know it because it takes place after he has been loaded onto the Ishmaelite caravan and is starting his journey to Egypt. And that fact is what the brothers did after Yosef was pulled out of the pit and loaded onto the caravan. What they did was they took a goat, they slaughtered it, put the blood on Yosef's coat, and sent it to their father, saying, Zot matzanu hakarna, this we found, recognize, please, is it your son's coat or not? Yosef doesn't know that that happened. He couldn't have known that it happened. He wasn't around for that. The question you have to ask yourself is, not knowing that that happened, not knowing about the bloody coat, how might that change Yosef's view of the story? So let's go through the events of the sale of Yosef and ask what the story looked like from his perspective. All Yosef knows is this. He was 17 years old, and he had these dreams that seemed to portend that he would rise to a position of power. He told these dreams to his brothers, and they became jealous. And then he told the second dream, not only to his brothers, but to his father as well. Now his father had loved him. He was 17 years old, and he had these dreams that seemed to portend that he would be 17 years old, and he had these dreams that seemed to portend the events of the sale of Yosef, and ask what the story looked like from his perspective. All Yosef knows is this. He was 17 years old, and he had these dreams that seemed to portend that he would rise to a position of power. He told these dreams to his brothers, and they became jealous. And then he told the second dream, not only to his brothers, but to his father as well. Now his father had loved him, but for the very first time, Yaakov castigates Yosef. He doesn't like this dream. What does this dream mean with the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars all bowing down to you? We're all going to come bowing to you? And his father scolded him. He was angry at him. And then Yaakov sends him to Shechem to go check on his brothers. Shechem of all places. What's been happening in Shechem lately? Shimon and Levi and the rest of the brothers undertook a commando raid to rescue Dinah that resulted in the wholesale death of an entire town. Shechem is a place soaked in blood. Blood spilled by the brothers of Yosef.
Come on, it was only the men in the town. It wasn't the whole town.
You know, the thing that's kind of eerie, so it was, you know, a few people, it was Shechem and his entourage that were responsible for
taking her captive. Again, that's up to interpretation, but I mean, the parallel I'm drawing isn't, and again, this is, a narrative, might be true or, based in some reality, but is probably myth. But the point is, the women who were taken captive by Hamas, they were really taken captive, and there's no nuance about it. But what I think is kind of interesting, though, is still, despite the fact that, going with that narrative, say that Shechem was completely guilty, like, in that same way, Shechem was in charge. He was the prince of Shechem. I mean, it just happened to be named after him, which is kind of funny. But he was the prince, and so really, if anyone tried to stand up to him, say what you're doing isn't right, they'd be killed. So it's not that different than from what Hamas is doing in Gaza. You can't stand up to Hamas. And so it's not necessarily that everyone's guilty because they refuse to stand up to Hamas. It's that everyone's afraid. And I don't think it's necessarily fair that, people just look at what's happening and say, oh, well, that it just, look what they did to us. But it's like, look what Hamas did to us. So it's like, it's one thing if they would have just done what they did to Shechem, if they only did it to the person Shechem and not to the city. But maybe they were like, we're going to kill Shechem. And they're like, oh, shoot, we forgot that Shechem's both the city and the person, but we can't go back on our word.
No, funny. I was going to say, that's some of what you're talking about there is the idea about the leader being above the law and not having to obey it. And again, that's just some of the point, like,
it's not that they don't have to obey it. It's who's going to make them.
Well, and that's part, I was going to say, that's part of the point where you see where that stems off some violence in America, where we kind of get, Trump held up for public ridicule and that he has to get dragged through the court system. And then they say, well, no, you can't actually, all of that instead of people killing each other, I find is a vast improvement. Tag.
Definitely. Wait, what is dialogue you're saying?
No, I'm saying, the person being held up for public ridicule, so the public can decide, and getting dragged through the court system where they have to pass the legal thresholds. Everybody does, and again, they're still subject to the law. They're not above it, and they can't change it arbitrarily.
Yeah, but there are certain countries where the law is basically, what is it? Where the executive is also the judicial, and so it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll be judged, and I judge myself not guilty.
Oh no, absolutely. It's sort of like, hey, I pardoned myself before I left the presidency. You can't put me in jail now.
So Yosef, they see him as a threat. Why don't you go check on your brothers in Shem? Yaakov tells Yosef. Yosef sees it's dangerous. His answer, Hineni, here I am. Hineni is one of those words in the book of Genesis. What does Hineni remind you of? Who else said Hineni? The famous Hineni in the book of Genesis. The Hineni of Avram to God in the story of the binding of Isaac. With that book of Genesis, words in the book of Genesis. What does Hineni remind you of? Who else said Hineni?
Also,
the famous
Leonard
Hineni in the
Cohen
book of
had
Genesis.
what
The Hineni of Avram
before he
to
died.
God
You want a
in the story
darker
of the binding of
Hineni?
Isaac. With that Hineni, doom was right around the corner for Yitzhak. With Yosef's Hineni, does Yosef realize that doom is right around the corner? I agreed. I went to Shem. I said Hineni to you. I trusted that everything would be fine. But everything wasn't fine. My brothers jumped me, stripped me of my clothes, threw me in the pit, sold me off to Egypt. That's what Yosef knows. And now what doesn't he know? Tragically, he doesn't know that the brothers brought the bloody coat to father, tricking father into thinking Yosef was dead. So from Yosef's perspective, what does he think happened next? For all he knows, maybe they came back to father, said father was him or us. Maybe father himself saw Yosef as a threat. It's not like nobody had ever been kicked out of the family before. Avram, Yitzhak, and Yishmael. Avram wanted to keep Yishmael around. Sarah didn't think it was a good idea. God sided with Sarah. That was the end of Yishmael. Yaakov and Esav. Esav got expelled from the family. I'm down. I'm languishing in Egypt year after year. There was never any search party. Maybe I was kicked out of the family. Indeed, Rabbi Ben Nun points out, look at the names that Yosef gives here. There was never any search party. I'm down. I'm languishing in Egypt year after year. There was never any search party. Maybe I was kicked out of the family. Indeed, Rabbi Ben Nun points out, look at the names. In Egypt year after year, there was never any search party. Maybe I was kicked out of the family.
Meaning I was sorry, it's hard to hear.
Indeed, revealed the Nun points out. Look at the names that Yosef gives to his two children, Manasseh and Ephraim. Manasseh, the verse says, Ki nashani Elokim mikol amalim mikol beit avi. God has allowed me to forget all of my toil, all of my travail in my father's house. Ephraim, Ki frani Elokim be'eretz ani. God has allowed me to become fruitful, to have all these children in the land of my oppression. Yosef building a new life, leaving his old life behind. He'll still be a God-fearing Jew, but what of his ties with his family? Does Yosef think he's been thrown out?
Oh, so that's
It's all
interesting
over.
because
If you adopt this
so it should be
perspective,
like a
it changes the
par
way you
or a
look at the
par,
Yosef story. It changes the way you
but by
look at
putting the
Yosef
ayim
and perhaps
with
his relationship with Pharaoh, with
resembling
Pharaoh.
Ephraim. So
Pharaoh pulls him out of the
par
pit,
in
this dungeon that he was in.
Ephraim.
Says, I hear you know how to interpret dreams. Could you interpret my dream? Gives him new clothes, beautiful new clothes. Sets him up again as second in charge. Everything that Yosef would have wanted, perhaps, from his own father.
Which
Where
one
were
is
you when
that?
I was in the pit? Here's a man who takes me out of a pit. Where were you when I was stripped of my clothes? Here's a man who gives him new clothes. I didn't like your dream.
Isn't that also a part of like Christian thing that they might be getting from? It's like, you know, I gave you clothes when you had none. You know, when you were naked, I clothed you. You know what I'm talking about? What's that from?
I don't know from the Christian standpoint. I was going to say one of the things that echoes strongly to me is post Garden of Eden. When they got kicked out, then they got given clothes too.
Let's see. When you were, yeah, okay, we're finishing up soon. Just like 1 minute. Let's see. When you were, let's see, naked, I clothed you. Actually, that might not be a Christian thing. No, it is. It's Matthew. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer. So it seems like this is like a motif that they're taking from the story of Joseph.
No, definitely. And again, it's that whole putting on and taking off of clothes is a motif, again, both in the Bible and in the Middle East. It's one of those recurring themes. And again, not surprising is Matthew, because Matthew is the most Jewish of the Gospels.
Definitely. I mean, the name Matthew is Hebrew. It's Matityahu, which means Matit. Yahoo has given.
Would have wanted, perhaps, from his own father. Where were you when I was in the pit? Here's a man who takes me out of a pit. Where were you when I was stripped of my clothes? Here's a man who gives him new clothes. I didn't like your dream. Here's a man who wants to tell Yosef dreams and hear his interpretation. Paro gives Yosef a wife, gives him a new name. What kind of man gives you a new pit? Here's a man who takes everything that Yosef would have wanted, perhaps, from his own father. Where were you when I was in the pit? Here's a man who takes me out of a pit. Where were you when I was stripped of my clothes? Here's a man who gives him new clothes. I didn't like your dream. Here's a man who wants to tell Yosef dreams and to hear his interpretation. Paro gives Yosef a wife, gives him a new name. What kind of man gives you a new name, gives you a wife? A father kind of man. The challenge that faces Yosef. Where does your loyalty lie now? Who's your real father? And it's all very fine for Yosef to remain close to Pharaoh now, while Yaakov is back still in Canaan. But what if Yaakov should ever be reunited with Yosef, with Pharaoh still in the background? That, I believe, sets up the real climax of the Yosef story that takes place in Parshat Vayechi. But we'll have to wait till Parshat Vayechi to talk about it. I'll see you then.
Hi YouTube, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And for even more amazing Torah videos, check out aleph-beta.org. Just click the link below.
I saw war.
You did.
Thanks. Sorry. Before we finish out, any last thoughts?
No, it's just, again, Joseph seems to be a very recurring motif, and as you've been pointing out, a lot of it got picked up in a whole lot of the Christ symbology as well. Tag.
Definitely. And I mean, more than just that, I think it's also very connected to the story of Shimon and to Serapis as well. But that's a story for another time. Anyway, on that note, this was fun and managed to do it a lot quicker, only 3 hours. So hopefully next time it's even faster. Anyway, on that note, I will see you all later, and hopefully next time I stream, I will, be a bit, I don't know, feeling a bit better. I mean, I'm not feeling bad, just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I hope that the change is visible, and I'll share more in the future. But on that note, have a good night, good morning, everyone, and take care.
Want to tell the Rebbe the words of the new song that we're singing with Mashiach, right? So I'm just going to read him. Am Yisrael, have no fear. Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Okay? Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. Oh yeah, Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. Am Yisrael, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait. Hey! Wow.